Divine and Mysterious Immortality. I start my cultivation by adding points as a butcher. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 726 Zhuan Yu Ring. Tisk. He is indeed a mid-stage foundation building cultivator from a big family. He is really wealthy. Looking at the things in front of him, Wei Hong laughed with satisfaction. His consciousness had already selected the most valuable things in the storage bag. He did not care about the others and would treat them as miscellaneous items in the end. Although there were more than 20 items, the pile of medium-grade spirit stones on the far left was as high as more than 3,000 pieces. The income from this trophy alone was enough to make Wei Hong's wallet full again. With this amount of spirit stones, I don't have to go to the 10,000 snakes abyss to hunt monsters for the time being, and I don't lack many materials. Wei Hong thought with satisfaction, and with a wave of his hand, he put the pile of spirit stones into his storage bag. There were a total of 6 spiritual tools placed next to the spirit stones. 2 of the flying swords were second-grade lower-grade spiritual weapons, and 1 flying knife was a second-grade middle-grade spiritual weapon. They looked cold and powerful. Wei Hong tried them casually and found that they were not inferior to his Qingang sword. The remaining 3 spiritual weapons instantly made Wei Hong excited, because these 3 spiritual weapons were not only unique in style and looked quite extraordinary, but also emitted a breath that reached the level of second-grade upper grade. The first one was a palm-sized small sword made of jasper. This flying sword looked small and exquisite, but the breath it emitted was much stronger than the second-grade middle-grade flying knife just now. It was as if it was controlled by a foundation-building cultivator, and its power would be multiplied. Not bad, not bad, so my Qingang sword can be replaced, and a lot of spiritual stones can be saved, haha. Wei Hong looked at this jasper flying sword repeatedly in his hand, and he became more and more delighted. And on the blade of this jasper sword were engraved 3 tiny characters, Biquan sword. After putting away the Biquan sword, he looked at the second spiritual weapon. It was a fist-sized white ring with a lot of mysterious and complicated runes engraved on it. Apart from the 3 small characters Zhuan Yu Ring engraved on it, Wei Hong couldn't see anything else. Zhuan Yu Ring? What is this? Ring-type spiritual weapons can generally be used to attack enemies or trap them. Could it be that this Zhuan Yu Ring is also the same? Looking at this second-grade top-grade Zhuan Yu Ring, Wei Hong secretly guessed the true function of this spiritual weapon. No hurry, just test it later. He put it away without thinking too much. Now is not the time to test it. The last second-grade top-grade spiritual weapon was the thing that surprised Wei Hong the most. It was just because it was a 1-foot-long inner armor. The inner armor was dark black, with black scales on the surface. The scales were engraved with a large number of complex and mysterious runes. The inside of the inner armor was extremely smooth. Wei Hong reached out and touched it, and found that the surface of the inner armor was a little cold, but it was not as hard as he imagined. Instead, it was a little soft, which made Wei Hong fall in love with it at once. Imperial Scale Armor. Gently stroking the inner armor, Wei Hong read out the name of the inner armor. The appearance of this inner armor can be said to have brought Wei Hong a great surprise. Originally, he had always wanted to buy an inner armor for protection, but he had never encountered a suitable one, and he had never encountered an inner armor of the second-grade upper grade, even if he had enough spirit stones. Therefore, the inner armor became Wei Hong's most desired spiritual weapon. Now such a second-grade upper grade inner armor was unexpectedly obtained. How could he not be extremely surprised? Haha, great! With this inner armor, my safety will be greatly improved. Wei Hong was delighted. Just this inner armor made him feel that the action of ambush Xiao Xian and the others was really wise. He knew very well that as long as he broke through to the middle stage of foundation building, he could practice another spell of Green Light Sword Art, the Green Light Sword Shield. The Green Light Sword Shield not only has good defense, but also can rebound damage. In addition to the protection of the flying black iron shield, there is also the royal scale armor inside. Under the multiple protections, the safety can be said to have been greatly improved. Even the full force of the late stage of foundation building cultivators may not be able to break through so many layers of protection. With such a harvest, Wei Hong was already very satisfied. He looked at the royal scale armor back and forth several times, and then put it in the storage bag. As for why Xiao Xian did not wear this royal scale armor, it was no longer something Wei Hong wanted to explore. In addition to a large pile of spirit stones and 6 spirit tools, there were only more than 10 items left on the ground. Next to the 6 spiritual tools were 10 white jade bottles and a jade box made of ice jade. Because of the appearance of the imperial scale armor, Wei Hong was still full of expectations for what was to come. He first checked the 10 white jade bottles, opened them one by one, and poured out the pills inside for observation. Finally, he found that the 10 jade bottles were all filled with a second-level medium-grade pill called Hunyuandan, which was suitable for the 5th and 6th levels of foundation building. Wei Hong wanted to buy the recipe of Hunyuandan in Yuan Datang before, but Yuan Datang only sold him the recipes of Qingsudan and Zhuanyuandan, 2 second-level medium-grade pills, and did not buy the recipe of Hunyuandan. Unexpectedly, he got 10 bottles of Hunyuandan directly. Tisk, you are worthy of being a member of the Cao family. These 10 bottles of pills alone are worth 800 or 900 medium-grade spiritual stones. You are indeed wealthy, but I didn't expect that they all cost me a lot on the end, haha. These 10 bottles of Hunyuandan were naturally accepted by Wei Hong without any hesitation. After he breaks through to the middle stage of foundation building, there will be no shortage of subsequent pills for the time being. So after he put away the 10 bottles of pills, he picked up the fist-sized ice jade box. The so-called ice jade is actually a second-level lower-grade refining material. Since the box in Wei Hong's hand is made of ice jade, let alone the things inside, the ice jade box itself is worth 20 or 30 middle-grade spirit stones, and the things that can be put in such a box must be good. With strong expectations, he slowly opened the lid. What came into view was a light blue pill the size of a longan. As soon as the ice jade box was opened, the light blue pill exuded a refreshing and faint medicinal fragrance, and a faint blue light seemed to appear on the surface of the pill, but when you look closely, it seems to be non-existent, which is very magical. Wei Hong frowned slightly, and did not recognize the origin of the pill in front of him at once, but after a careful observation, he found that he seemed to have heard of it somewhere. His eyes were fixed on the blue pill in the box, and his mind was spinning rapidly. After a moment, Wei Hong seemed to remember something, and suddenly exclaimed in uncontrollable ecstasy, "Is this the 100 revolving water pill?" Chapter 727, 100 turns of water returning to the pill. Wei Hong was suddenly struck by a huge surprise. He never thought that the opportunity he had been seeking for so long would be found in Xiao Xian's storage bag. This really made him feel unbelievable, but at the same time he was extremely surprised. Haha, yes, this is definitely the 100 turns water returning pill, absolutely right. After Wei Hong recognized the pill, he laughed ecstatically. Its color is light blue, the medicinal fragrance is refreshing, the medicinal halo is faintly visible, and there is a circle of medicinal patterns on it. Yes, this is the 100 turns water returning pill, haha, it is really God's help. Just this 100 turns water returning pill alone is worth his effort to ambush and kill Xiao Xian. There is no other reason, just because this is a realm-breaking pill. The so-called 100 turns is actually a method of alchemy. Before collecting the pill, it is repeatedly condensed. After the pill is finally formed, a circle of faint medicinal patterns will appear on the pill. This is the origin and proof of the 100 turns. The pill in Wei Hong's hand, called Baizuan Shui Huandan, is a breakthrough pill that can help cultivators in the early stage of foundation building to break through to the middle stage of foundation building. This is a second-level medium-grade pill, but because the effect of this pill is very great, not only are there very few alchemists who can refine this pill, but the price of this breakthrough pill is also extremely expensive. Just imagine, how many spirit stones can a pill that can help people break through from the early stage of foundation building to the middle stage of foundation building be worth? You know, for cultivators, cultivation is definitely their most important guarantee, and things that can improve cultivation are all scarce and hard to find. If you meet someone who happens to need this kind of pill, let alone 1 or 2,000 medium-grade spirit stones, even 5 or 6,000, they are absolutely willing. In this way, you can imagine how precious this pill is. When Wei Hong went out before, he also searched a lot in Kangshan Xiancheng, but he didn't get anything. He didn't expect that such an opportunity would appear here accidentally. Haha, what a great Cao family. They gave me a great gift and an opportunity. They are such great people. When I break through to the middle stage of foundation building, I will definitely find a chance to thank them in person and kill 2 CAO clan members to show my gratitude. Haha. Wei Hong was in a good mood at this time, but the desire to retaliate against the CAO family became stronger. He immediately closed the ice jade box carefully and put it in his storage bag. This pill will be the key to whether he can break through to the middle stage of foundation building, and it must not be lost. Moreover, Wei Hong felt that even if there were no other spoils of war, just getting this base Shuhun pill was enough to make him take action once. After collecting the pill, there were 5 jade boxes left in front of him. Wei Hong opened them one by one and found that they were all filled with second-grade high-quality alchemy materials. The value may not be very high, but it is generally difficult to find. He was somewhat satisfied to get 5 of them at once. After putting away all 5 jade boxes, he looked at the last gray storage bag again with great expectation. However, the last gray storage bag did not bring him a bigger surprise. In addition to more than 2,000 medium-grade spiritual stones, there were only 3 spiritual tools, both second-grade low-grade and second-grade medium-grade. In addition, there were a few bottles of Hunyuan, and there was nothing valuable. Fortunately, Wei Hong had already gained the Baizuan Shui Huandan. He was very satisfied. Even though the last storage bag did not have many valuable things, he was not disappointed at all. After sorting out all the things in the storage bags, Wei Hong began to ponder in his heart, I have killed 5 foundation building cultivators in a row. Although the risk is not small, the rewards are also huge. There are more than 7,000 mid-grade spirit stones alone. No wonder other cultivators say that one cannot get rich without unexpected wealth. It turns out that looting is the fastest way to make money. Now I have obtained so many spiritual weapons at once, even an inner armor. These spiritual weapons are enough to support me in the foundation building realm without any replacement. However, these spiritual weapons are either from the Tang family or the Cao family. If they are used so openly, will there be a risk of exposure in the future? When Wei Hong thought of this, he felt that the risk must be considerable. The other second-level medium and low-quality spiritual weapons are not so bad. The Imperial Scale armor is not easy to be seen by outsiders when worn inside. However, the second-level high-quality Bikuan sword and Zuanai ring have very obvious characteristics. If someone familiar with Xiao Xian sees them, they will definitely suspect Wei Hong and even associate Xiao Xian's death with him. This is not what Wei Hong wants to see. In this case, unless he can't bear to stop using these spiritual weapons in the future, if he wants to use them, he must solve this problem. If he wants to solve this problem, he must find a way to change the appearance of these spiritual weapons, or make them different from before. Change the appearance of spiritual weapons? Refining weapons. Wei Hong immediately thought of the means of refining weapons. And if he wants to solve this problem, refining weapons seems to be the only way. Doesn't this mean that I have to learn more skills in refining weapons? Wei Hong thought secretly. Before this, he really lacked spiritual tools to improve his combat power. For example, the Qinggang sword that could be used as the main flying sword before, after he broke through to the middle stage of foundation building, the second-level middle-grade Qinggang sword could not keep up with his strength, so he needed to change to a more powerful spiritual tool. Now this Bikuan sword came at the right time, and he didn't need to go out to buy another one. In this way, learning to refine tools seemed to be a must. Refining tools seems to be good. In this way, the 4 arts of cultivating immortals will be completely complete. I can also earn spiritual stones or solve my own needs according to my own skills. This is not bad. Wei Hong didn't think much about it at all, and immediately decided to learn a refining skill. What's more, he also gained a lot of refining materials this time, which was just right for practice. As long as he uses vitality points to improve the refining realm, he can smelt those spiritual tools by himself, and then change the appearance of those spiritual tools. Then he can use them openly without worrying about being discovered. Very good, let's do it this way. In 2 days, I will go to Kangshan Immortal City to buy a manual on refining equipment to strengthen my basics first, and then learn the skills of refining equipment, and strive to improve my realm as soon as possible. Wei Hong immediately made a decision in his mind. Moreover, he has now obtained 7,000 to 8,000 medium-grade spirit stones, which is just right for buying a large number of low-level refining materials for practice. In this way, he does not have to worry about the investment of resources. After carefully planning and arranging various ideas in his mind, Wei Hong began to practice with his eyes closed. For him, the most important thing is to improve his cultivation as soon as possible. Wei Hong never dared to slack off when it comes to cultivation. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 728, Breaking Through the Bottleneck. 3 days later, Wei Hong quietly left the spiritual plant garden again. To be on the safe side, he chose to leave through the tunnel again this time. After leaving the spiritual plant garden, he changed his appearance and restrained his breath. Then he went to Kangshan Immortal City to buy a book on basic refining and advanced refining skills. He also bought a large number of low-level refining materials. At the same time, he also purchased a large number of materials and resources that he lacked. Then he returned to the spiritual plant garden. This time, he spent half of the 7,000 or 8,000 medium-grade spirit stones he had just received. Alice, it is really easy to spend money but hard to make money. I just received this amount of spirit stones a few days ago, and in a blink of an eye, more than half of it has been spent. The 4 arts of cultivating immortals are really big spenders. Wei Hong, who returned to the secret room, couldn't help but sigh. It's just that he said it, but he didn't feel the slightest bit of heartache. Not to mention that these spirit stones were originally windfalls, and buying materials was also for practicing his own craftsmanship. This was definitely 100 benefits for him and no harm. How could he be stingy? So Wei Hong first took out a book on the basics of refining and read it carefully. In less than half an hour, the system had included the refining technique. Then he continued to study the advanced refining skills, and let the system upgrade the grade of the refining technique. Half a day later, Wei Hong slowly put down the jade slip in his hand. I didn't expect that the way of refining is so profound and extensive, even vast and boundless. There are hundreds and thousands of basic refining techniques alone, and there are also various runes to choose and match, fire control and material ratio, etc., all of which are difficult to learn and master. If there is no vitality point, I estimate that it will take 5 or 6 years to get started. After a simple understanding of the way of refining, Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh. At this time, he really understood why among the 4 arts of cultivating immortals, alchemy and refining are the most expensive skills. It's just because the skill of refining is too complicated and difficult to understand, and it's difficult to learn and master. It also takes a lot of time to practice and comprehend, and the most important thing is practice. For example, the most basic refining techniques, each refining material needs to be refined before it can be refined, and refining materials is a great subject. The melting point of each material is different, and the refining techniques required are also different. If you want to be familiar with the refining techniques of various materials, you must practice continuously, and you also need a lot of materials for practice. Once you make a mistake, the materials will be scrapped. In this way, the resources needed to invest in the initial stage of refining are a bottomless pit. Not to mention that after getting started, you need to contact higher level materials, learn more refining techniques and inscription engraving, etc. These all require a lot of practice to master, so without the support of a big force behind you, it is completely a fantasy for ordinary people to become a master of refining, no matter how talented they are. After figuring this out, Wei Hong was not discouraged at all. Because he has vitality points, as long as there are enough vitality points, it can automatically help him save dozens or hundreds of years of effort. This is the confidence he wants to learn refining. The threat from the Cao family should not appear for the time being. I will try to go out hunting after a while, otherwise the vitality points will be short again. Wei Hong thought about it for a while and made a decision. Now that he has learned a new skill, the vitality points that were not abundant to begin with have become even tighter. Since the Cao family is no longer watching him, he should go out and move around. However, these are just trivial matters for the time being and are not important. For Wei Hong now, breaking through the bottleneck is the most important thing. Since the Base Honshu Huandan is already in hand, I should also prepare for some breakthrough matters. When Wei Hong thought about his breakthrough, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. However, he immediately suppressed the excitement in his heart and made his mood calm again. One day later, in the secret room, Wei Hong sat cross-legged on the golden silk cushion. On the wooden table next to him, A faint smoke was rising from an incense burner and slowly spread to the surroundings, filling the entire secret room with a faint fragrance. Wei Hong's eyes were tightly closed at this time, and the whole person was like an ancient well, deep and calm. He had maintained this state for a day and a night, in order to adjust his body and spirit to the best state. In front of him was a jade box, and in the box was the Beis Hun Shu Hun Dan. Today is the day for him to break through the bottleneck. After a moment, Wei Hong slowly opened his eyes. He did not say anything, but opened the jade box with a solemn expression, then picked up the Beis Hun Shu Hun Dan directly, and swallowed it directly with his head raised. After the Beis Hun Shu Hun Dan entered his throat, it instantly turned into a warm current, flowing directly into his danshan. Wei Hong immediately closed his eyes again and began to operate the King Wang sword art with all his strength. Now he has already practiced the first level of King Wang sword art to the peak, and breaking through to the middle stage of foundation building is the realm. What he needs to do now is to break through the bottleneck of this level of practice. Wow! The spiritual power circulated rapidly in Wei Hong's body, as if making a sound like water flow. After the warm current transformed by the elixir entered the danshan, it immediately merged into the spiritual power, and continued to circulate in the meridians along with this spiritual power. Every time it circulated, the spiritual power would increase by 1 point. At the same time, when Wei Hong began to fully practice the technique, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the secret room began to surge, and then formed a 10-foot wide spiritual energy storm that directly wrapped him in it. A large amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth also madly poured into Wei Hong's body and was continuously absorbed and refined by him. Since it is a breakthrough of the bottleneck, it naturally requires a large amount of spiritual energy as support. At this moment, Wei Hong is like a bottomless pit. No matter how much spiritual energy he absorbs, he cannot fill his danshan. The spiritual power that is constantly running, under the dual blessing of the elixir and the external spiritual energy, not only is the speed getting faster and faster, but it is also slowly starting to grow stronger. Wei Hong closed his eyes, but the aura on his body began to slowly rise, and exuded a trace of indescribable sharp sword intent. There was also a faint green light flashing on his body. As the aura rose, the layer of green light was also slowly becoming thicker. Wei Hong naturally didn't notice the outside world, as he was completely absorbed in practicing his technique. He had tried 3 times before, but failed to break through all 3 times. Now with the addition of Beis Hun Shu Hun Dan, Wei Hong immediately noticed the difference. In the past, no matter how many pills he swallowed or how much spiritual energy he absorbed, his bottleneck didn't loosen at all, and his technique couldn't improve at all. However, when practicing his technique, Wei Hong felt that the bottleneck was slowly loosening. Chapter 729, the 4th level of foundation building. In the secret room, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth surged like a storm. Wei Hong's body at this moment was like a bottomless pit. No matter how much spiritual energy poured in, it could not be filled. Because he was constantly refining a large amount of spiritual energy, transforming it into his own spiritual power, and then filing it into the danshan. As long as the spiritual power in the danshan exceeded the limit of 1/3, it would prove that he had successfully broken through to the realm of the middle stage of foundation building. Before that, he needed to break that bottleneck in order to accumulate and fill up the spiritual power. With the help of Beis Hun Shu Hun Dan, Wei Hong had already felt that the bottleneck was constantly loosening. Therefore, although his state of mind remained calm, he was secretly happy in his heart, and the circulation of spiritual power became more rapid. One cycle after another, every time he circulated a cycle, he refined a large amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth, and then let his spiritual power grow a little bit, and finally returned to the danshan. In this way, the spiritual power in the danshan began to slowly exceed the limit of 1/3. The invisible bottleneck in Wei Hong's body became thinner and thinner under the repeated washing of spiritual power. He could clearly feel that at this moment, he was like a volcano that was about to erupt. With just a little effort, the spiritual power in his body would directly break through the bottleneck. What Wei Hong didn't know was that at this time in the secret room, as he continued to practice the exercises, the aura he exuded became stronger and stronger. Even though he had not yet truly broken through to the middle stage of foundation building, the aura he exuded seemed to be no worse than that of Xiao Xian and other cultivators who had already entered the middle stage of foundation building for many years. This was because he had the top level and extremely high quality Tao foundation. Whether it was the accumulation of spiritual power or the real strength, It was much stronger than that of ordinary foundation building cultivators. This was also the reason why it was difficult for him to improve his realm in the foundation building realm. It was really because the capacity of the dungeon was too large. If he wanted to fill it with spiritual power, he would need to spend more time and resources than other cultivators. In this way, he was naturally much stronger than cultivators of the same level. At this time, although Wei Hong's eyes were closed, his face suddenly became solemn, just because now was the most critical moment. He used the green light sword technique to its limit, and a large amount of spiritual energy from heaven and earth was absorbed, refined, and then integrated into his spiritual power. Therefore, the spiritual power in his body was running wildly, and it rushed to the bottleneck level with only a thin layer of energy at an extremely fast speed. Boom! A silent loud noise exploded in Wei Hong's soul, making him dazed for a moment. After the silent loud noise, it seemed as if some level was completely broken through. The spiritual power in his body was like a flood that opened the gates, and the momentum was extremely fast and ran through the meridians. Moreover, it was directly stronger than before, and the aura it exuded was also much more condensed and powerful. Crash! At the moment when Wei Hong successfully broke through, the spiritual energy storm in the secret room suddenly stopped, and then the spiritual energy slowly calmed down and returned to the void. Wei Hong's face suddenly became relaxed, and the aura emanating from his body was more than twice as strong as before. After the spiritual power in his dantian broke through the 1/3 limit, it also increased a little, which meant that he had successfully broken through to the middle stage of foundation building. Feeling the spiritual power in his body after it was strengthened, and the comfortable feeling of the spiritual power running through his meridians, Wei Hong immediately opened his eyes and laughed. Haha, I finally broke through. It's worth my years of hard work. I finally reached the middle stage of foundation building. After the breakthrough, both his body and soul reached an excellent state, especially the increase in strength, which made him quite intoxicated. Wonderful! The middle stage of foundation building seems to be not much different from the early stage of foundation building, but with my current strength, it is more than enough to deal with 3 of me before the breakthrough. It's worth my risking to run back and forth to attack the Cao family and the Tang family. Wei Hong's face was light, and the joy in his heart could not be suppressed. Although he had not really tested his strength after the breakthrough, he could roughly know that after his successful breakthrough, his strength had increased by at least double. If he faced Xiao Xian and Xiao Yuan at this level, he would not need the assistance of the 6 Absolute Blue Thunder formation. He could easily kill Xiao Xian and Xiao Yuan in just a few encounters, leaving them no chance to escape. For him, the difference in strength between a breakthrough and a failure was so obvious. After spending several years and adding a large amount of elixir resources, he finally succeeded in breaking through to the middle stage of foundation building. Such a result was naturally gratifying. After officially entering the middle stage of foundation building, Wei Hong's confidence also grew a lot. Now, even if he faced the threat of the Cao family again, he was not afraid at all. Even if he was defeated, he had the confidence to retreat calmly. Unless the fake elixir ancestor of the Cao family took action personally, other Cao family members would never be able to keep him. Humph, the Cao family? Wait, they must be too busy to take care of themselves now. I want to see how the Cao family will decline in a few years. Wei Hong couldn't help but sneer when he thought of the Cao family. But he didn't think much about it. He had done what he should do, and the remaining things couldn't be solved now. He still needed to continue to retreat and consolidate his cultivation, so he didn't care about the Cao family's affairs. After suppressing the thoughts in his mind, Wei Hong gently released his spiritual sense. 100 feet. 200 feet. 300 feet. After a moment, his spiritual sense extended to 600 feet away. Within 600 feet, everything was presented in his mind clearly. This was the maximum distance his spiritual sense could extend, which was at least half stronger than that of the cultivators of the same level. After testing the strength of his spiritual consciousness, Wei Hong laughed with satisfaction. Haha, not bad, not bad. Reaching the middle stage of foundation building can extend the spiritual consciousness for 600 feet, which is a huge advantage compared to the cultivators of the same level, worthy of being a top-grade foundation. As we all know, after the foundation building period, the battles between cultivators are not only about spiritual power, spiritual tools and realm, but often the strength of spiritual consciousness can determine the outcome. Just like Wei Hong, now that he has just broken through to the 4th level of foundation building, His spiritual consciousness can already be extended to a distance of 600 feet, but other 4th-level foundation building cultivators can only extend it to 400 feet. In this comparison, others are naturally at a disadvantage. This is equivalent to Wei Hong being able to discover the opponent in advance, but the opponent cannot discover Wei Hong. In this way, the difference between the advantages and disadvantages is simply too big. Wei Hong, who discovers the enemy in advance, can fight or retreat as he pleases, without any restrictions. On the contrary, the enemy will be restrained by Wei Hong in terms of spiritual consciousness and will be completely unable to exert his power. The enhancement of his spiritual awareness alone made Wei Hong extremely satisfied. Chapter 730 Trump Card, The Banner of 10,000 Souls. Wei Hong closed his eyes and sensed it gently. Although the spiritual power in his Danshan just exceeded the limit of 1/3, the total amount and quality of spiritual power were much stronger than those of the cultivators of the same level. This was the benefit of a strong foundation. With his strength, he would not be afraid even if he met a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building. However, Wei Hong still understood the principle that a tree that stands out in the forest will be destroyed by the wind, so he would naturally not easily show all his strength to the outside world. Now that I have successfully broken through to the middle stage, both my strength and combat power have skyrocketed a lot, but I still need to continue to stabilize it, and also sort out my strength and skills such as spells. Wei Hong was very clear in his mind, and he was not complacent at all because of his successful breakthrough to the middle stage of foundation building. On the contrary, he felt that he should continue to retreat, first to consolidate the realm he had just broken through, and second to continue to practice hard and sort out his own strength. So Wei Hong began to plan silently in his mind, since I have broken through to the middle stage of foundation building, I can practice the magic spells of King Wu Sword Art and King Wu Sword Shield, and strive to reach the ultimate realm as soon as possible. Also, I should look for some second-level medium-quality spells to see if there are any suitable ones. There is no need to replace the spiritual weapon in the short term. Next, I should focus on practicing Ki. There are also second-level medium-quality talismans, pill recipes, formations, etc. I should buy what I should buy, and put them aside if there are no suitable ones. In short, I should strengthen my own strength as comprehensively as possible. Therefore, the acquisition of vitality points is imminent. I should go out hunting once in a while, otherwise there will be a serious shortage of vitality points again. One plan after another, all kinds of arrangements flashed through Wei Hong's mind. He already had a clear idea of what he should do next, and even planned what to do in the next few years. However, for now, his demand for spirit stones and vitality points is still very large. Whether it is to buy the second-level medium-quality talismans, pill recipes, materials and formations, etc., a large amount of spirit stones is needed, and a large amount of vitality points are also needed to upgrade the realm of those skills. Therefore, going out hunting has become an imminent matter. Only by going out hunting can he earn spirit stones and a large amount of vitality points at the same time. Thinking of hunting, Wei Hong took out something from his storage bag. It was a banner that exuded a strong and gloomy aura. It was the 10,000 Souls banner that absorbed countless souls and spirits. This 10,000 Souls banner has been greatly enhanced and refined in his hands, and it is even more powerful than in the hands of evil cultivators. It is only because he has hunted a large number of foundation building monsters in the past few years, and even killed 7 or 8 foundation building cultivators, and absorbed all the souls of these monsters and cultivators into the 10,000 Souls banner, making them one of the thousands of souls in the 10,000 Souls banner. The power of the 10,000 Souls banner, a sinister magical weapon, is directly linked to the number and quality of the souls in the banner. The more souls the banner absorbs, the stronger the souls are, and the more terrifying the power of the banner. So far, the 10,000 Souls banner in Wei Hong's hand has changed a lot. The originally blood-red banner surface has become as black as ink because it has absorbed too many souls, and its power has been increased by an unknown amount. Now, as long as he shakes it lightly, the 10,000 Souls banner can easily summon hundreds or thousands of souls, and most of them are souls in the foundation building period. With so many terrifying souls rushing directly over, even cultivators in the late stage of foundation building cannot resist it. In this way, the 10,000 Souls banner has become one of Wei Hong's trump cards. He, who would have thought that this 10,000 Souls banner was only a first-class upper-grade magic weapon before, but now it is more terrifying than a second-class upper-grade spiritual weapon. With so many ghosts, if there is no means to exorcise ghosts and demons, which foundation-building cultivator can resist it? Looking at the sinister 10,000 souls banner in his hand, Wei Hong couldn't help but want to laugh a few times. After snatching it from the robber cultivator, he didn't pay much attention to the 10,000 souls banner, but threw it to his ghost child to control it. Who would have thought that as it absorbed more and more souls, the 10,000 souls banner would become so terrifying? So Wei Hong naturally had to take it back for his own use, and those ghost children could no longer control this terrifying 10,000 souls banner. Now, going out to hunt monsters can not only collect monster materials and earn spirit stones, but also obtain vitality points. Even the spirits of those monsters will not be wasted. It is simply killing two birds with one stone. It seems that going out hunting is imperative. He only needs to go out hunting once, and he can get a lot. Such a good thing naturally cannot be missed. Wei Hong has already made plans to go out. However, although this matter is important, he can't be too anxious. He secretly thought in his heart, now the Cao family should be too busy to take care of themselves. Even if I leave the spiritual plant garden openly, the Cao family should not care about me. But I have just broken through now, it is better to consolidate for a while, and there is no rush to go out hunting. The threat of the Cao family has passed for him for the time being. He believes that the Cao family will definitely not take care of revenge on him now. Compared with the hatred of killing two clansmen, the disaster of extermination is naturally more important. The Cao family will not fail to understand this, so there will definitely be no one staring at Wei Hong outside the spiritual plant garden now. Moreover, he had already broken through to the middle stage of foundation building. If there were still those who dared to wait outside, he naturally did not need to be polite to them. He just needed to kill them ruthlessly until they were scared. Going out hunting is important, but cultivation must not be neglected. By the way, now that I have successfully broken through, I can continue to infuse some spiritual power into the self-destructing talismans I made before. Wei Hong knew very well that cultivation and realm were the most important things for a cultivator, and this was also the foundation of a cultivator's survival, and he absolutely could not slack off. At this time, he thought of the self-destructing talismans he had made before. The power of the self-destructing talismans was directly related to the spiritual power infused. Now that he had broken through to the middle stage of foundation building, he could infuse more spiritual power into the self-destructing talismans to increase the power of the self-destructing talismans. With his current 4th level foundation building cultivation, once the self-destructing talisman stored 100% of his spiritual power, the power would definitely increase a lot, and even a cultivator at the 6th level of foundation building would not be able to resist it. However, this was a slow process, requiring him to slowly infuse spiritual power into each self-destruct talisman. Once the spiritual power was more than half consumed, he would need to meditate again to recover. This was not something that could be completed in a short period of time. Don't worry, do it one by one. I have plenty of time. I should try to refine the equipment when I have time. With the idea of not rushing or slowing down, Wei Hong put away the 10,000 souls banner with his backhand and closed his eyes again to start meditating and practicing. Chapter 731 The Attack and Defense Change. 5 years passed in a flash. Wei Hong was staying about 20 miles away from the 10,000 Snakes Abyss at this time. He had his hands behind his back and stared at the front leisurely. He was not nervous at all, and there was no defense around him. Not far ahead, a 9-poison yin phosphorus python in the late stage of foundation building was trapped in a 6 absolutes green thunder formation. Obviously, Wei Hong was hunting monsters at this time. However, compared with the previous hunting monsters, he did not set up a concealing formation for himself this time. Instead, he completely restrained his breath and hid on a big tree. Unless the consciousness of a giant stage cultivator swept over, he would not be able to detect his existence. At this time, under the cover of the 6 absolutes green thunder formation, the movement in the formation was deafening, but it did not leak out at all, making the whole mountain forest look very peaceful. Looking at the 9-poison yin phosphorus python roaring in the formation, Wei Hong chuckled softly. Haha, what a late-stage foundation building poisonous python, but now it is different from the past. This formation, don't even think about getting out again. Looking at the 9-poison yin phosphorus python, he seemed to see a lot of medium-grade spirit stones. When he first encountered the 9-poison yin phosphorus python, although he successfully led it into the formation, the wind flame dragon fierce formation did not trap the 9-poison yin phosphorus python for long, and it was directly broken by it in anger, so that Wei Hong could only escape quickly and did not dare to provoke the poisonous python. But now the offense and defense have completely changed. The 9-poison yin phosphorus python did not provoke Wei Hong, but he was directly targeted and led it out of the 10,000 snakes abyss, which led to the scene of it being trapped in the formation. This is the 4th time Wei Hong has gone out hunting in the past 5 years. The harvests in the previous few times were not bad. Almost every time, he could harvest monster materials worth tens of thousands of medium-grade spirit stones and 40,000 to 50,000 vitality points. Without these incomes, he would not be able to maintain his cultivation in the past few years. At this time, outside the formation, 6 paper figures were jointly presiding over the 6 absolutes green thunder formation. The 9-poison yin phosphorus python in the formation was like a madman, ramming around in the formation, but it could not shake the formation at all. Instead, it was constantly torn apart by the bombardment of blue thunder, and was seriously injured in just a moment. The reason why there were 6 paper figures was because Wei Hong found that after he broke through to the middle stage of foundation building, that is, after his spiritual consciousness had been greatly enhanced, the number of paper figures that could be controlled also broke through the limit of 5 and became as many as 7. In this way, if he wanted to set up a 6 absolutes green thunder formation, he would naturally not need the appearance of his original body. He could also avoid the front battlefield and hide himself directly so that he would not fall into danger directly. Half a cup of tea later, the 9-poison yin phosphorus python in the formation had its head completely shattered, and then it struggled on the ground for a while, and then completely lost its vitality. Vitality points plus 1,300. After killing the 9-poison yin phosphorus python, the system immediately issued a prompt. Wei Hong's face was calm, but as soon as he thought about it, the 6 paper figures immediately withdrew the formation, and then quickly divided the materials. In just a moment, they returned to Wei Hong with a storage bag. He stretched out his hand and put the 6 paper figures into the storage bag. As for the storage bag containing the monster materials, he tied it around his waist. It's time to go back and rest for a while. After putting away those things, Wei Hong murmured softly, and then flew away without looking back, and did not continue hunting. He has been out for a full month this time, and the harvest is good. At this time, he does not plan to continue hunting, but prepares to go back and rest. Half a day later, Wei Hong returned to the small courtyard. After he came back, he rested for a day before returning to the secret room. Sitting cross-legged on the golden silk cushion, Wei Hong took out 2 storage bags from his arms and placed them in front of him. The 2 storage bags contained all the monster materials he had harvested in the past month. He simply classified and sorted the monster materials inside, and then put them away again, preparing to go to Kangshan Immortal City to sell them later. In the past 5 years, although Wei Hong went out hunting several times, he only went to Kangshan Immortal City once, and that time was also to sell the accumulated monster materials and purchase a large number of various materials. After achieving his goal, he did not stay for long and immediately returned to the spirit plant garden. At this moment, he had accumulated a lot of monster materials on him again, which was also urgently needed to be sold. It's time to go out. Wei Hong sighed softly and thought to himself, 5 years have passed. Even if the CAO family is not seriously injured, they can't keep staring at me now. Besides, I need to show up again. Now all the pills and materials I have been used up. I need to continue to replenish various materials to avoid affecting the progress of cultivation. In the past 5 years, Wei Hong not only used up all the pills and materials he had obtained before, but also almost didn't have much left of the pills and materials he bought last time, so he urgently needed to replenish some. Without the help of pills, his cultivation speed would be much slower. In the past 5 years, with the help of a large number of pills, Wei Hong's cultivation speed has not been slow, and his cultivation has also increased a lot, and he has barely passed the halfway point of the 4th level of foundation building. However, when he thought of this, Wei Hong couldn't help but sigh helplessly. Alice, this cultivation is really a bottomless pit. No matter how many resources and pills are filled in, it is not enough. I don't know how many Hunteron pills and Qingsu pills I have taken in the past 5 years, but I haven't even touched the edge of the 5th level of foundation building. I don't know how other cultivators got here. After successfully breaking through to the middle stage of foundation building, Wei Hong continued to cultivate with the help of the pills obtained from Xiao Xian and others. During this period, he also refined a large number of pills by himself, and all of these pills were swallowed and consumed by himself to help the growth of his cultivation. However, even after swallowing so many pills, he only went a little more than halfway through the progress of the 4th level of foundation building. At this time, he didn't even touch the edge of the 5th level of foundation building. If he wanted to break through to the 5th level of foundation building, he didn't know how many pills he had to swallow. This is because the amount of spiritual power he needed to refine into his danshan increased a lot. Therefore, after breaking through to the middle stage of foundation building, not only did his cultivation speed slow down a lot, but the growth of his cultivation also slowed down a lot. Now, he needs more pills to increase his cultivation speed. However, Wei Hong was still cautious at this time. He thought secretly, although the Xiao family is unlikely to send anyone to keep an eye on me now, for the sake of safety, I'd better go out and find out the situation first. As long as he gets the news about the Xiao family, he can reappear in Kangshan Fairy City in his original appearance. Chapter 732, Reward, Xiao Family's Situation. 3 days later, Wei Hong blatantly opened the formation of the spiritual plant garden, and then without any intention of hiding his whereabouts, he flew up on his sword and flew straight towards the direction of Kangshan Immortal City. He looked and saw that there was no figure outside the spiritual plant garden. Hey, the Xiao family has really given up the idea of seeking revenge on me. Come to think of it, the Xiao family has fallen into such a situation, how could they send people to stare at me? Wei Hong laughed after he figured it out, and then he accelerated to Kangshan Immortal City. However, he changed his appearance halfway, restrained his breath, and carefully changed his flying sword, so that people could not see his true identity at all. Not long after, he arrived at Kangshan Immortal City, and then went straight to Guangjuksun, the largest restaurant in the city. Originally, he wanted to go directly to Xianji Pavilion to spend some spirit stones to inquire, but after thinking about it, he gave up this idea and went to Guangjuksun instead, wanting to see if the well-informed monks in the restaurant would have the information he wanted. After arriving at Guangjuksun, he randomly chose an empty seat in the lobby on the first floor and sat down. Then Wei Hong casually ordered a pot of tea and a snack, and listened leisurely to the chats of many cultivators in the lobby. In such a place, there is actually a lot of information to be gained, and it is also very messy. There are all kinds of news, especially some major events in the world of immortal cultivation. Almost everyone can hear people talking about it. This is much better than going directly to the Xianji Pavilion. Hey, Han Dao, have you heard? The Zhuanshan sword sect seems to have received a top seedling with an innate sword body this year. A man with a somewhat wretched appearance threw a piece of food into his mouth, and whispered to the middle-aged cultivator next to him to show off the news he heard. As expected, the middle-aged man was immediately shocked and said, "What? A top seedling with an innate sword body? Doesn't that mean that the Zhuanshan sword sect can still suppress the other 3 major sects 100 years later?" Who said it wasn't? The innate sword body is the top seedling for sword cultivation. Once he is led onto the path of sword cultivation, the speed of cultivation will definitely increase by leaps and bounds. Perhaps it won't take long before he can build a foundation. It's not like us. It's extremely difficult to build a foundation. The old man with a wretched look sighed and said, if it weren't for such a talent, how could he be accepted into the Zhuanshan sword sect? The middle-aged man next to him agreed and said, not bad, not bad. No wonder the Zhuanshan sword sect has always been the leader of the 4 top sects. This luck is really amazing. Hearing this, Wei Hong's heart suddenly moved. He didn't expect that he hadn't heard the news about the Xiao family yet, but he heard the news about the Zhuanshan sword sect, the leader of the 4 top sects in the world of immortal cultivation, first. It really surprised him. He didn't know much about the 4 top sects in the world of immortal cultivation. After all, that level was too far away from him. However, he had heard of the names of the 4 major sects, but he didn't expect to hear news about the Zhuanshan sword sect here. At this time, the cultivator at another table asked in a normal voice, by the way, have you heard that anyone has received a reward for Xiao Jin and Xiao Ming? As soon as these words came out, Wei Hong's attention was immediately attracted. Just because the person said 2 names of the surname Xiao, Although he didn't know whether it was related to the Nangxi Cao family, it didn't prevent him from focusing all his attention on that side, fearing that he would miss some information. At this time, a young man at the same table sneered, "Collect the reward? Fellow Taoist Li, are you kidding? No matter how high the reward is, you have to have the life to collect it." It is said that Xiao Jin is a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building, and Xiao Ming is even more extraordinary. He has already reached the perfection of foundation building, and is only one level inferior to the ancestor of the Xiao family. With such strength, who except a giant and master can be sure of taking down those two? As soon as the young man finished speaking, the people around who heard this immediately echoed him. Not bad, not bad. Without the strength of a giant and master, who can take down the two people from the Xiao family? He, let alone a reward of 10,000, even if it is a reward of 100,000, it would just be a show for us. Haha, that's right. I think no one will be able to claim the reward. Those giant and masters don't care about this little bit of spiritual stones. That's right. Besides, Xiao Jin and Xiao Ming may have already run away. Who would wait for others to catch them? This topic seemed to be more interesting than the sword cultivator seedling of Zhuanshan sword sect just now. Many cultivators around joined in, not only talking a lot, but also expressing their own opinions and views, making the lobby on the first floor seem extremely lively for a while. On the contrary, Wei Hong next to him was a little stunned when he heard it, and he didn't seem to understand what these people were talking about. No, from what these people said, Xiao Jin and Xiao Ming are obviously from the Xiao family. They just mentioned the ancestor of the Xiao family. Wei Hong was full of doubts, and his brows slightly frowned. But what about the bounty they are talking about? The Xiao family was rewarded? The bounty was offered by the Immortal City. The more he thought about it, the more confused he became. However, he was really surprised to hear the news about the Xiao family here, so he thought about it for a while, and while everyone was talking, he quietly walked to the middle-aged man who had spoken just now and sat down. "Excuse me, fellow Taoist, I am Wang Ming to meet you." Wei Hong smiled and clasped his fists, appearing to be very polite. The middle-aged man was slightly stunned. After looking at Wei Hong, he clasped his fists and said, "It turns out to be fellow Taoist Wang. I am Li Yan. Do you know me?" Facing the middle-aged man Li Yan's doubts, Wei Hong immediately explained, "Haha, don't blame me, fellow Taoist. In fact, this is the first time I meet you. It's just that I was a little confused when I heard about the bounty just now, so I wanted to ask you a thing or two. I hope you don't blame me for being abrupt." "Haha, so that's the case. What's so strange about this?" Li Yan laughed suddenly after hearing it, but then asked in confusion, "But fellow Taoist Wang, you didn't know about the bounty? This is known to everyone in Xianshan." Wei Hong explained again at this time, "Haha, to be honest, I have been in seclusion for several years and have just come out. I really haven't heard of the bounty." Wei Hong's explanation cleared up Li Yan's doubts. He couldn't help but said, "So that's how it is. No wonder you haven't heard of this. Haha, since you asked, I have no reason not to tell you. Besides, even if I don't say it, you can find out by asking someone. In fact, the reward is very simple. 2 members of the Xiao family escaped after the annihilation of the whole family. They are Xiao Jin and Xiao Ming. In order to capture these 2 people from the Xiao family, Kangshan Immortal City directly offered a reward of 10,000 medium-grade spirit stones for each person killed. This news is known to everyone in the entire Immortal City, but no one has been able to collect the reward until now. Chapter 733, Evil Power Destroys the Whole Family. The Xiao family was wiped out. Wei Hong was shocked when he heard this. Even waves of shock were stirred up in his heart, and he was stunned. Although he had thought about the fate of the Xiao family before he came out to inquire about the news, in his imagination, the Xiao family had that fake Dan ancestor, and at most they would decline a little, and might be forced to retreat by the Tang family, but they would definitely not be wiped out directly. Such news was completely beyond his expectations. So much so that Wei Hong felt a little unbelievable when he heard this. He was stunned for a long time, and then he suppressed the shock in his heart, and then whispered to the middle-aged man Li Yan, "This, Li Daoyao, the Xiao family you are talking about is the Nangxi Mountain Xiao family? They have been wiped out? When did this happen? Why was the Xiao family wiped out? Could it be that they provoked the Yuan Ying's Henrun?" Shocked and puzzled, Wei Hong asked Li Yan again and again. Li Yan looked at Wei Hong with a strange look, but thinking that he seemed to have just come out of retreat and seemed to know nothing about what had happened recently, he sighed and patiently explained to him, "Fellow Taoist Wang seems to really not know." "That's right, the Xiao family we are talking about is the Nangxi Mountain Xiao family before, but now there is no so-called Nangxi Mountain Xiao family, and the Xiao family has been wiped out. As for why the Xiao family was wiped out, it's actually very simple, because the ancestor of the Xiao family secretly practiced evil skills, and even tried to kill all the witnesses present after being accidentally exposed. According to the notice given by Kangshan Xiancheng, the ancestor of the Xiao family was obviously confused by the evil skills, so he was wiped out by the Xiancheng." Then Li Yan simply told Wei Hong everything that happened in the past 2 years. With Li Yan's explanation, Wei Hong finally knew what had happened in the past few years. It turned out that 5 years ago, after Wei Hong killed Xiao Xian and Xiao Yuan, 2 mid-stage foundation building cultivators, as he expected, the Xiao family was seriously injured and immediately suffered a great loss of vitality. Originally, the Tang family and the Xiao family had always been equally powerful, but now the Xiao family had lost 2 mid-stage foundation building cultivators, which made the Xiao family instantly fall into disadvantage in the fight against the Tang family, and under the constant pressure from the Tang family, the Xiao family's losses and casualties became greater and greater. In a vicious cycle, the snowball was rolling. In this way, the gap between the Tang family and the Xiao family became larger and larger, which also led to the Xiao family slowly losing control of most of its industries, and even the foundation building cultivators in the family also suffered considerable casualties. Faced with the Tang family's step-by-step pressure, Xiao Ying, the head of the Xiao family, was furious, but he was powerless to change the overall situation, so he could only ask the ancestor of the Xiao family to come out of seclusion to save the situation. After Xiao Jin, the ancestor of the Xiao family, came out of seclusion and saw that the Xiao family had fallen into such a situation, he was immediately furious. So he immediately led the remaining foundation building cultivators of the Xiao family to fight the Tang family, hoping to reverse the decline. However, the ancestor of the Tang family, Tang Haoiu, was a fake pill cultivator who was no less powerful than the ancestor of the Xiao family, Xiao Jin. The two of them were evenly matched in a fight, and neither could do anything to the other. But don't forget that the Tang family had more foundation building cultivators than the Xiao family, so at the critical moment, the Tang family took out 2 late-stage foundation building cultivators to participate in the siege of Xiao Jin. As a result, Xiao Jin naturally fell into disadvantage, and even began to be unable to withstand the siege of the Tang family, so that he fell into a desperate situation. It was at this time that something unexpected happened. Seeing that he might die on the spot, the ancestor of the Xiao family didn't care so much, and actually performed an evil skill that had been banned for practice by the righteous sects on the spot, and used this evil skill to block the siege of the Tang family, and finally escaped back. At the moment of exposing the evil power, Xiao Jin wanted to kill all the Tang family monks present. However, after performing the evil power, although his cultivation level increased greatly, he still couldn't kill all the Tang family monks. In the end, he could only leave in anger. However, in this way, the news that the ancestor of the Xiao family secretly practiced the evil power was completely leaked. Especially the ancestor of the Tang family, he went to Kangshan Immortal City in person that day to inform the matter, and used the Tang family as a guarantee, hoping that Kangshan Immortal City would be able to uphold justice. The city lord of Kangshan Immortal City was furious when he heard about this, and immediately sent a giant master and a large number of Kangshan guards to go to the Xiao family to investigate the truth and see if the news was true. It is not known whether the ancestor of the Xiao family was too confident or underestimated the determination of Kangshan Immortal City to sweep away the evil demons. After returning to the Xiao family, they did not escape, and were surrounded by the troops sent by Kangshan Immortal City. Until this moment, the ancestor of the Xiao family regretted it very much. He regretted that he should not have coveted the power of the evil skill, and regretted that he had used it, so that the entire Xiao family was implicated. Unfortunately, it was too late, and regret was useless. For this reason, the ancestor of the Xiao family could only fight to contain the giant master, and then let the other cultivators of the Xiao family escape as much as possible. In that battle, Xiao Jin, the ancestor of the Xiao family, was killed on the spot by the giant master, and it also confirmed the fact that Xiao Jin practiced evil skills. Under the siege of a large number of Kangshan guards, the Xiao family was almost completely wiped out. Only Xiao Jin and Xiao Ming, two members of the Xiao clan, were able to escape. Among the two who escaped, Xiao Jin was a cultivator in the late stage of foundation building, and Xiao Ming was in the realm of perfect foundation building. After the two escaped, they disappeared without a trace, so that the people of Kangshan Immortal City have not been able to find them until now. Therefore, the mayor of Kangshan Immortal City ordered people to issue a bounty. The one who killed Xiao Jin could get 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones, and the one who killed Xiao Ming could get 20,000 middle-grade spirit stones, with the heads of the two and the identity token as evidence. After this incident, there was an uproar in the entire Kangshan Immortal City, and countless cultivators were shocked. No one expected that the ancestor of the Xiao family, such a bona fide fake Dan cultivator, would practice evil skills in order to break through the realm. For a time, all kinds of discussions in the city were simply endless. No one would sympathize with the situation of the Xiao family, but instead all kinds of curses and contempt. Of course, although these ordinary cultivators were jealous of the extremely generous bounty, they were very self-aware. Almost no one dared to really track down the whereabouts of Xiao Jin and Xiao Ming, fearing that they would never come back. So much so that now from time to time, people still mention the bounty, just like Li Yan just did. After learning the details of the entire incident and the cause, Wei Hong immediately sighed in a low voice. I didn't expect that a dignified Jinan family would be wiped out just like that. It's really unbelievable. Although it was unbelievable, he was extremely ecstatic in his heart. Such a result was hundreds of times better than he had expected. It was equivalent to the Xiao family digging their own grave and directly helping him solve the biggest problem. Chapter 734 Huge Profits. I see. Thank you for clearing my doubts. I never thought that such a big thing would happen after just a few years of seclusion. Wei Hong looked disappointed and bowed to Li Yan to thank him. Li Yan waved his hand nonchalantly and said, Hey, Taoist Wang, why are you being polite? These things are already known to everyone. Taoist you can find out by asking anyone, no need to be polite. Haha, that being said, but it is my luck to meet someone as enthusiastic as you. Wei Hong smiled and complimented. Then he chatted with Li Yan for a while and returned to his seat. After getting the information he wanted, Wei Hong was too lazy to pay attention to other information. Instead, he began to ponder in his heart, I didn't expect that the Xiao family had been wiped out. I originally thought that although the Xiao family was unable to seek revenge on me, at least a lean camel is bigger than a horse, and it should still be a big threat to me. I didn't expect that this trouble would be solved directly. If I had known this, I should have come out to inquire about the news 2 years ago. But it's not too late now. The time before is just right for me to practice in seclusion. Now that the Xiao family has been wiped out, although 2 members of the clan have escaped, but now under the high bounty of Kangshan Immortal City, the fleeing Xiao Jin and Xiao Ming are estimated to have run away to who knows where, and they must not dare to stay near Kangshan Immortal City, so Wei Hong did not take the two to heart. In this case, can't I restore my original appearance and reappear openly? Such a thought suddenly flashed through Wei Hong's mind. When he thought of this, he couldn't help but get excited. For him, this is definitely good news worth being happy about. The threatening enemy had been killed, so he naturally didn't need to worry about anything. The monthly deacon meeting will be held in 2 days, and I should show up. So Wei Hong made the decision immediately. He knew that he could finally walk outside boldly. After staying for more than half an hour, he got up and left Guangjuxun. Then he went directly to Baokixun, ready to sell the accumulated monster materials. Haha, it turns out that it is Brother Wang who has come. Please take a seat. Someone, come and serve tea. Seeing Wei Hong coming, Lu Xianai, the manager of Baokixun, immediately welcomed him in warmly. Wei Hong had dealt with the manager of Baokixun more than once or twice, and the two of them no longer needed to be polite. After the servant served the spiritual tea, Lu Xianai smiled and asked, Friend Wang, you haven't been here for a long time. Do you have anything good to offer me this time? In the past, every time Wei Hong came, he either sold a large amount of monster materials or bought a large number of materials and spells from their Baokixun. He could be said to be a regular customer of Baokixun. When Lu Xianai saw Wei Hong appear this time, he naturally knew that business had come to his door. Wei Hong just smiled faintly after hearing this. After drinking a sip of spiritual tea, he slowly said, Whether the things are good or not is up to you, Manager Lu. I will sell them if the price is right. After all, this is not the first time we have dealt with each other. Lu Xianyi laughed immediately after hearing this and said, haha, not bad, Taoist Wang, rest assured, the price will definitely satisfy you. And you also said that this is not the first time we have dealt with each other. Taoist Wang has been satisfied with the previous few times. Haha, that's right. If it weren't for this, I wouldn't have been patronizing your Bao Kixun all the time. Wei Hong smiled lightly, then took out a storage bag from his arms and put it on the table, motioning, Taoist Lu, take a look and estimate the price. Oh? Taoist, you are ready? Haha, then I won't be polite. Lu Xianyi's eyes lit up, and he picked up the storage bag without hesitation. He gently opened the bag and put his spiritual consciousness directly into it. But the next moment, Lu Xianyi's face suddenly became shocked, and there was surprise in the shock, as if he was frightened by the monster materials in the storage bag. Ah! After a moment, Lu Xianyi opened his eyes and exhaled lightly, the shock on his face still hard to hide. He couldn't help looking at Wei Hong and sighed, fellow Taoist Wang, you are so generous. The materials of late-stage foundation building monsters alone account for half of them. If these are not considered good things, what can be considered good things? Fellow Taoist Lu, you are too kind. These are what we brothers have spent several years to accumulate. You have to give a good price. Wei Hong smiled lightly, deliberately showing a touch of complacency on his face. He knew very well how valuable the things in his storage bag were, because among all the monster materials in it, the materials of late-stage foundation building snake monsters accounted for half, and the rest were mostly the materials of mid-stage foundation building monsters, each of which was very valuable. These monster materials were all accumulated by him in the past 2 or 3 years. Now that he was here, he naturally had to find an opportunity to sell them. After all, he had to buy other things to exchange them for spirit stones. Of course, those monster materials represent more than just a large amount of spiritual stones, but can indirectly prove that the cultivators who killed these monsters must have extremely strong strength, otherwise how could they have accumulated such a large amount of monster materials? Lu Xianyi was naturally very clear about this, so he was so shocked. He did not expect that Wei Hong's hunting team would have such a strong strength, so he hurriedly laughed and said, haha, of course, the price will satisfy Brother Wang. With this large amount of monster materials, even if they were calculated according to the market price, the remaining amount would be enough for their Bao Kixun to make a good profit. Such a good thing he would not miss. Lu Xianyi asked Wei Hong to wait for a moment, and then he once again put his consciousness deep into the storage bag and began to carefully estimate the price of these monster materials, trying to satisfy Wei Hong. After half a cup of tea, Lu Xianyi finally opened his eyes again, and then he said directly to Wei Hong, fellow Taoist Wang, I am not going to play tricks with you. The number of your monster materials is not small. I will round it up to 20,000 medium-grade spirit stones. What do you think? After saying that, he looked at Wei Hong expectantly, but also a little nervous, fearing that Wei Hong would not be satisfied. Wei Hong pondered for a while, then slowly nodded and said, okay, 20,000 is 20,000. Since fellow Taoist Lu is sincere enough, I can't be vague. He had already secretly estimated the price of this batch of materials, and knew that the price given by Lu Xianyi was indeed sincere enough. Seeing this, Lu Xianyi was overjoyed and laughed immediately. Haha, good, fellow Taoist Wang is really a straightforward person, thank you very much. After that, he immediately ordered someone to go to the warehouse to get 20,000 medium-grade spirit stones and handed them to Wei Hong. Wei Hong counted the items without hesitation and accepted them directly. This transaction was considered a done deal. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 735 Kingpin Sealing Technique. After completing the first transaction, both Wei Hong and Lu Xianyi seemed very satisfied. At this time, Wei Hong took out a jade slip from his storage bag and gently placed it on the table, and said to Lu Xianyi, Lu, I have a list of materials here. I wonder if your Bao Kixun can gather all the materials on the list. Oh? Then I have to take a look first. I don't know if the materials needed by Dao Wang are too rare. I dare not guarantee it. Although he said modestly, Lu Xianyi was obviously confident. Obviously, he did not think that the materials needed by a foundation-building cultivator would be so precious. Moreover, he could do another business, which made Lu Xianyi very happy. He took the jade slit and checked it immediately. After a while, he opened his eyes and smiled at Wei Hong. Dao Wang, do you want to refine weapons and pills? No problem, although the quantity is not small, we have them in Bao Kixuan. I will ask someone to get them for Dao Yao. After that, Lu Xianyi directly called a servant, handed the jade slip to him, and ordered him to collect the materials according to the list on the jade slip. Wei Hong then explained calmly, haha, it was requested by my 2 team members who are good at refining equipment and alchemy. Wang doesn't know these skills. Lu Xianyi naturally didn't mean to ask more questions, and hurriedly changed the subject with a smile. Anyway, as long as Wei Hong can bring him business, the rest naturally has nothing to do with him. After chatting for a while, Wei Hong seemed to remember something, and asked calmly, Dao Lu, I wonder if you have special effects or powerful spells, talismans and formations. If you have any, you can also bring them to see. Second level mid to high quality ones are fine. This time, he not only wants to sell all the monster materials he has accumulated, but also wants to buy some powerful spells, talismans and formations, etc., to deepen his strength and foundation. In fact, he currently has a combined 6 Absolute Blue Thunder formation as a trump card, and the demand for formations is not great. However, there is a great demand for second-level mid to high-quality talismans and spells, and hopes to find something suitable in Bao Kixuan. When Lu Xianyi heard this, his eyes lit up immediately, and he hurriedly said, yes, if you want it, then we must have it. Wait a minute, I'll send someone to get it. Seeing that Wei Hong actually had business to take care of their Bao Kixuan, Lu Xianyi naturally did not dare to be negligent, and hurriedly called another maid to ask her to take out the spells, talismans and formations that met the requirements stored in the warehouse. Before the materials Wei Hong needed were taken, the spells and talismans he needed were taken up first. Fellow Taoist Wang, take a look first, and we'll talk about it if you like it. Lu Xianyi put more than 20 jade slips in front of Wei Hong and asked him to look through them slowly. Wei Hong was not polite and directly picked up a jade slip to check it. Flame Dragon Crazy Flame Technique. After the divine consciousness invaded the jade slip, what came into his mind were these 5 large characters that seemed to carry high temperatures. Obviously, this was a spell of fire attribute. Wei Hong just glanced at it casually and took it down, obviously not interested. Because he has a wood attribute spiritual root and practices wood attribute skills, this fire attribute spell is naturally not suitable for him, so there is no need to read it. Lu Xianyi next to him didn't care at all, but slowly drank tea and waited quietly. Renmu Substitute Technique. After seeing the name of the spell recorded in the second jade slip, Wei Hong couldn't help but brighten up. Renmu Substitute Technique, a second-level top-grade spell, can use the spirit wood as a body, transform into a wood demon, and use the spirit wood as a substitute to protect itself when in a fatal crisis. After reading the introduction of this spell, Wei Hong immediately decided to buy it. This is originally a wood attribute spell, and it is more suitable to be a rare substitute spell. Once it is cultivated to the extreme realm, it can block a fatal attack for him at a critical moment. This is exactly the spell he needs. However, after reading the general outline and introduction above, Wei Hong did not show any strange color, nor did he express his opinion in a hurry, but picked up other jade slips to continue to check. Windly Bingayan Technique, Mysterious Water Dragon Slash. Wei Hong read through the jade slips one by one, and after a brief moment of contemplation, he selected 4 jade slips from among them. These were the spells and talismans he had chosen after careful comparison. Among these 4 jade slips, in addition to the second-level top-grade spell, Renmu Substitute Technique, there was also a second-level mid-grade spell, Kingpin Sealing Technique, and the other 2 jade slips recorded the second-level mid-grade talismans, Xiangang Breaking Evil Talisman, and Lingai In Talisman. Kingpin Sealing Technique was a controlled type spell, and Xiangang Breaking Evil Talisman was a special talisman that was specifically designed to break evil forces and curses, and was extremely effective in resisting things like evil spirits and yinsha. As for the last one, Lingai In Talisman, it was a talisman that allowed a user to restrain his breath and become invisible. Wei Hong now has no shortage of offensive spells and talismans, but lacks controlled type spells and talismans with special effects, so he chose the above 4 types, with the purpose of improving his ability to deal with various situations. Deo Ialu, let's take these 4 types. How much spirit stones do you take? Wei Hong pointed at the 4 selected jade slips and signaled Lu Xianai to bid. Lu Xianai didn't expect Wei Hong to choose so quickly, so he immediately checked the 4 jade slips, and then looked up and said to Wei Hong, "Tisk tisk, Dao Wang has a good eye. These 2 spells and 2 talismans are good things, no wonder Dao Wang likes them. This, Renmu substitute technique, is worth 250 medium grade spirit stones, Kingpin sealing technique, is worth 150 medium grade spirit stones, Xiangang breaking evil talisman, and Lingai in talisman, are both 100 spirit stones, adding up to a total of 600 medium grade spirit stones." Lu Xianai quickly gave a price, which was slightly lower than the market price. Wei Hong nodded gently and said, "Okay, we'll settle the bill after the materials are delivered." "Of course, no problem. This is the method to unlock the jade slip. Fellow Taoist, please keep it together." Lu Xianai naturally had no objection, but took out another jade slip and handed it to Wei Hong. Because the jade slips sold by these shops all have unique restrictions, generally only a small part of the content recorded in them will be displayed. The remaining content will only be unlocked after the customer actually purchases it, so as to ensure the safety of the jade slip. If someone relies on the powerful spiritual consciousness to forcefully crack it, it will only directly detonate the restriction and it is impossible to get the complete content. This is also the way many shops preserve the jade slips. Wei Hong smiled lightly and nodded, and directly put the 5 jade slips into the storage bag. He naturally didn't worry that Lu Xianai would do anything with the jade slips. After all, it was just a few hundred medium-grade spirit stones. Soon, the large amount of materials that Wei Hong needed was also delivered. Chapter 736, All the stars are surrounding the moon. Half an incense stick later, Wei Hong walked out of the treasure pavilion with a satisfied smile. He found that Lu Xianai was indeed not boasting, and the materials on his list were actually provided by the treasure pavilion. Satisfied, Wei Hong immediately paid thousands of medium-grade spirit stones. In fact, in the list he listed this time, various basic low-level materials occupied most of it, and the remaining small half was the materials for refining second-level medium-grade elixirs and drawing second-level talismans. However, although those low-level materials were not expensive, the quantity he needed was very large, so he spent thousands of medium-grade spirit stones at once. With such a harvest, Wei Hong restored his face in a hidden alley, and at the same time controlled his breath to the realm of the 3rd level of foundation building, and then slowly walked towards the direction of Kangling Hall. Today is the Deacon gathering once a month. After arriving at the door of Kangling Hall, he found that the Deacon gathering was still as lively as ever, with various deacons constantly coming in and out at the door, which was very lively. Wei Hong had not attended this Deacon gathering for many years. When he reappeared at this time, he seemed a little sad and emotional. He stood at the door for a while before slowly walking in. After entering the Kangling Hall, he was still greeted by various lively scenes. Some people set up stalls to sell things, some gathered together to exchange cultivation experiences, some were pulled aside to conduct private transactions, and some were looking for partners everywhere. In short, this Deacon gathering did not become deserted because of the lack of some cultivators. Wei Hong had a faint smile on his face and walked towards the side hall at the back. He wanted to see if Zhu Ming and others had also held a small group gathering today. If so, that would be the best. But before he could reach the side hall, he met Zhu Ming and another Taoist friend named Chen Hong. "Hey, Taoist friend Wei? Haha, it's really you, you finally showed up." The moment he saw Wei Hong, Zhu Ming immediately took 2 quick steps forward with a look of surprise on his face. Chen Hong, who was standing next to him, was also surprised. He immediately smiled and said, "Haha, fellow Taoist Wei, we haven't seen each other for a long time. We are relieved to see that you are fine." Seeing Zhu Ming and Chen Hong, Wei Hong was also somewhat happy. He smiled and said, "Haha, fellow Taoist Zhu, fellow Taoist Chen, we haven't seen each other for a long time. I am very happy to see you too." A sense of intimacy arises spontaneously when you can see familiar people. Zhu Ming immediately stepped forward and grabbed Wei Hong, pulling him while walking and said, come on, you finally show up. Other fellow Daoists have been talking about you for a long time. Let's go over and surprise other fellow Daoists, haha. Wei Hong was helpless, but he couldn't refuse Zhu Ming's kindness. Fortunately, he came to the deacon meeting this time to meet Zhu Ming and others again, so he naturally would not refuse. Soon, Zhu Ming took Wei Hong to the side hall where they used to hold small group gatherings. Fellow Daoists, look who this is. Zhu Ming shouted at the top of his voice as he entered the room. After hearing the noise, the 20 or 30 people in the side hall immediately looked over. When they saw Wei Hong, their faces were different. Some were surprised, while others looked slightly dazed. Oh, I was wondering who could make Daoist Zhu shout like that. It turned out to be Daoist Wei. Haha, Daoist Wei, we haven't seen you for a long time. You are finally here. Daoist Wei, we are relieved to see that you are safe and sound. How are you doing recently? Haha, it turned out to be Daoist Wei. It's great that you can come back to the party today. We missed you so much. No matter what the people present felt when they saw Wei Hong reappear, at least they all showed a kind smile on the surface and expressed a certain amount of concern. It was impossible to find fault with him. Wei Hong immediately bowed and clasped his hands to the crowd and said, Wei is honored to meet you, fellow Daoists. We haven't seen each other for a long time. I came to the party today to remind you not to forget me, haha. After that, he and Zhu Ming immediately approached the crowd. The deacons present naturally gathered around with a smile, and curiously asked about Wei Hong's whereabouts in the past few years. Wei Dao, have you been staying in the spiritual plant garden for the past few years without leaving? Chen Hong asked next to him. Wei Hong immediately explained with a wry smile, that's right, you all should know what happened a few years ago. At that time, the Xiao family clamored for me to pay with blood, and they also sent people to watch me outside the spirit plant garden. Under such circumstances, how could I dare to leave the spirit plant garden? Therefore, I have been in seclusion and practicing hard in the past few years, and have never left the spirit plant garden. As for the hatred between him and the Xiao family, there is actually no point in explaining too much. Besides, so many years have passed, and those people in the outside world have long believed that it was Wei Hong who killed the Xiao family members, so Wei Hong simply acquiesced and had no intention of covering up when he mentioned the matter. As soon as this was said, a female cultivator named Wang Shuang immediately agreed with her face, the Xiao family is so aggressive, and it is safe for fellow Daoist Wei to do this. Anyway, the Xiao family dare not force their way in. Moreover, fellow Daoist Wei no longer needs to worry about the threat of the Xiao family. I believe that fellow Daoist Wei has heard the news that the Xiao family was exterminated, right? Wei Hong nodded gently and said, I have heard it. Haha, to be honest with you, if I hadn't heard that the Xiao family was exterminated, I might not dare to attend this party. Everyone present agreed with this statement. After all, for ordinary cultivators, even if the Xiao family is not a behemoth, it is definitely not an existence that ordinary cultivators can easily provoke. If it were them, it would be the same. If the Xiao family had not been exterminated, no one would dare to easily enter the protection circle of the spiritual plant garden. Haha, this is also fellow Daoist Wei's luck. Now that the Xiao family is gone, fellow Daoist Wei doesn't have to worry about being retaliated. Zhu Ming also smiled and agreed. They were both moved and envious of Wei Hong's experience. He was able to stay safe after provoking a Jinden family, and in the end, it was the Jinden family that was wiped out. It must be said that this was indeed good luck. Wei Hong smiled and said, it's not that Wei is lucky, but that the Xiao family did many unjust things and was wiped out by themselves. Even now, the Xiao family's affairs are still a hot topic among many cultivators. It naturally attracted other deacons to discuss it. However, at this moment, Chen Hong next to him suddenly asked with a surprised face, fellow Daoist Wei, have you broken through to the third level of foundation building? As soon as these words came out, the scene suddenly became quiet. The deacons who had not noticed this matter before swept their spiritual senses over, and then noticed the realm of cultivation displayed by Wei Hong. For a time, all kinds of shocked and envious eyes were cast on Wei Hong. Chapter 737 Asking for pills and help. Haha, it was just luck. Wei Hong didn't have the slightest bit of complacency on his face. Instead, he explained with a bitter smile, this can be considered a blessing in disguise for Wei. You all know that I was forced to stay in the spiritual plant garden and dared not go out because of the threats from the Xiao family. So I could only practice hard in seclusion for the past few years. This is how I luckily broke through. Wei Hong took the initiative to expose his third-level foundation building cultivation after careful consideration. After all, he had not appeared in public for many years. If his cultivation did not improve at all, it would be inappropriate. However, it would be a bit scary to break through to the middle stage of foundation building directly. Therefore, the third-level foundation building cultivation is more suitable to show to the outside world. It is more reasonable and will not arouse other people's doubts. He also specifically emphasized that he was forced to practice hard because he could not go out. In this way, it seemed a bit logical to break through to the third level of foundation building. Zhu Ming said with envy, "You are a blessing in disguise, kid. I haven't broken through to the third level of foundation building for so many years, but you are one step ahead. Haha, fellow Taoist Wei, congratulations, you can be regarded as a double happiness, congratulations." Chen Hong also congratulated with a smile on his face. "Yes, fellow Taoist Wei, you have broken through to the third level of foundation building, so your strength can compete with the cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building. Needless to say, you have seen the strength of fellow Taoist Wei in the previous competition. Yes, fellow Taoist Wei, you have to help me if there is anything in the future. Yes, fellow Taoist Wei, maybe we can also form a team to hunt monsters together." The other deacons around him also smiled and complimented him. Just as Wei Hong expected, he only showed his cultivation of the third level of foundation building. After knowing this, most of these deacons were envious, and at the same time they were happy for him. There were not many who were really jealous of him, at least they did not show it. Facing the compliments from everyone, Wei Hong repeatedly bowed and said, "Thank you very much, thank you all very much, but you are really too kind. I have only made a small breakthrough, how can I deserve such praise from you?" Seeing that Wei Hong was still so humble, everyone immediately liked him very much. Everyone present was talking happily for a while, exchanging various information and things. After a while, the female cultivator named Wang Shuang suddenly asked Wei Hong, "Dao Wei, I wonder if you have time to start refining pills recently? I need some Yuhu pills recently. You can bring the materials yourself, and the reward is not a problem." After saying that, she looked at Wei Hong with expectant eyes. It is well known that Wei Hong can refine Yuho pills and Zhengyang pills, two kinds of pills used to improve cultivation. He has received many requests for refining pills before, but he has not appeared for several years, and many people almost forgot that he has the skill of refining pills. Now that Wang Shang mentioned it again, many people's eyes lit up, and then they looked at Wei Hong one after another. After all, they also have a great demand for pills. Wei Hong nodded with a smile and said, "Of course there is no problem. Fellow Taoist Wang can bring the materials to find me at the number 7 spiritual plant garden." That's great, thank you very much." Wang Shang thanked with a happy face. Seeing that Wei Hong was really free to start refining the elixir, the deacons around him who had ideas could no longer sit still. "Fellow Taoist Wei, I would also like to ask you to help refine a furnace of Zhengyang pills, is it possible? Fellow Taoist Wei, I wonder if you can refine Kinksu pills. What about Huan Mao pills? Can you refine Huan Mao pills? Hey, don't rush to fight, come one by one. Fellow Taoist Wei, I would like to ask you to help refine a furnace of Hume pills, I wonder when you are free." Immediately, more than a dozen deacons on the scene made requests for refining pills, all wanting to ask Wei Hong to help refine the pills. After all, Wei Hong's previous alchemy skills had been recognized by everyone, which was much more economical than going out and buying a whole bottle of pills directly. Faced with such enthusiastic reactions from the crowd, Wei Hong immediately extended his hand to signal everyone to be quiet first, and then said, "Everyone, fellow Taoists, don't worry. Wei's alchemy skills have also made a small breakthrough. He can already refine second-level medium-grade elixirs, such as Kinksu pills and Zuinigan pills. If you have any needs, you can prepare the materials and come to the spiritual plant garden to find me. Wei will never refuse." Since so many people want to make elixirs by themselves, Wei Hong took the opportunity to expose the fact that he can refine second-level medium-grade elixirs to prove his worth, and at the same time to earn more spirit stones. After all, he can charge a fee every time he makes an elixir, and the unused materials will belong to him at that time. In this way, it is naturally not a problem to earn spirit stones by refining elixirs. It is also safe and there is no danger. As long as he spreads his reputation, He will definitely receive various orders in the future, and spirit stones will naturally continue to flow in. Wei Hong will naturally not miss such a good thing. As expected, upon hearing that Wei Hong could now refine a second-grade middle-grade pill, the cultivators around him were immediately surprised. They did not expect that his alchemy skills had reached such a level. Haha, fellow Taoist Wei, if that is the case, then I have to shamelessly ask you to help me once. Not bad, fellow Taoist Wei, I urgently need some Kingsu pills and Zuinigan pills. Me too, fellow Taoist Wei, I will go and prepare the materials right away. Can you help me refine 2 furnaces of Zuinigan pills first? Hey, fellow Taoist Qi, this is based on first come first served. We are the first in line, how can we help you refine first? You have to line up at the back. Yes, everyone line up, no one can cut in line. The deacons around him became more enthusiastic at this time. Originally, there were several deacons in the middle stage of foundation building who did not intend to speak, but when they heard that Wei Hong could now refine second-grade middle-grade Kingsu pills and Zuinigan pills, they could not sit still and made requests for alchemy. At this moment, the attitude of the deacons around Wei Hong has changed greatly. They all surrounded Wei Hong with a warm attitude and said all kinds of flattering words. This change came from his alchemy skills. If Wei Hong only broke through to the 3rd level of foundation building, it would at most surprise and envy everyone present. After all, he has practiced hard for many years, and it is natural for him to be able to break through, but it will definitely not change the attitude of these deacons towards him. But now Wei Hong can refine second-level middle-grade pills, which means that he has become a second-level middle-grade alchemist. This identity is much more powerful than ordinary cultivators, and it is definitely not comparable to the many deacons present. Many people even asked Wei Hong to refine pills for them. In this way, their warm attitude towards Wei Hong can be imagined. And Wei Hong's status and position have also been improved a lot because of this, which is needless to say. Chapter 738 Blood Spirit Sect. The side hall was very lively at this time. Seeing that almost all the deacons present had asked him to refine pills, Wei Hong hurriedly comforted them. No problem, fellow Taoists, there is no need to fight for it. As long as it is a pill that Wei can refine, it will definitely meet the needs of all Taoists. Come one by one, don't be anxious. For this reason, he had to take out a jade slip and record the needs of all the deacons present, and sorted their time. After agreeing on them one by one, the deacons were satisfied. At this time, Wei Hong thought that he had to go to Yuan Hall again after the party, because he needed to buy more second-level middle-grade pill recipes, not only to enrich his alchemy foundation, but also to meet the various requirements of customers. After a long time, everyone slowly became quiet. They turned into a state of casual chatting and communication at this time. Wei Hong spoke less and listened more. Basically, he didn't speak much. Instead, Zhu Ming had been talking enthusiastically with everyone about various things that had happened recently. After all, he had not attended the gathering for many years, so he naturally did not know much about what had happened in Kangshan Xiancheng in the past few years. In this case, it would be better to listen to other people's exchanges, so that he could slowly re-understand what had happened in the past few years. However, at this time, the topic discussed by the deacon slowly turned to the current situation around Kangshan Xiancheng. Zhu Ming said loudly, even if you don't know, you should be able to feel a little abnormal. Recently, the situation around Kangshan Xiancheng is a little different from before. It seems to have become much more tense. Some forces around the Xiancheng and the major Xiuxin families also seem to be restraining their minions and acting much more low-key than before. What Zhu Daoyao said is very true. I agree with this. Because of the emergence of the Blood Spirit sect, some families around Kangshan Xiancheng have become nervous. I have received a lot of news. Those families are constantly calling back their own people. I don't know whether they are worried that the family base will be invaded or they are afraid that the Blood Spirit sect has mixed into their own family. An old man also took the initiative to speak at this time and introduced some of the information he knew. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expression suddenly froze. Fellow Taoist Su, are you serious? Zhu Ming's face changed slightly, and he asked hurriedly. The old man named Su Ji also nodded with a serious face and said, it's absolutely true. Not only that, I also heard that the Immortal City is still increasing the intensity of patrols in the surrounding area. The Kangshan Guard has basically been sent out. It seems that they are doing their best to search for the whereabouts of the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect. In this case, if we leave the Immortal City, wouldn't it be very likely that we will encounter danger? Wang Shuang said with a worried look. Chen Hong also said with a serious face, it's okay if we don't encounter the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect. If we really do, then you can only wish for the best. After these words were spoken, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became gloomy. However, just when the deacons were worried, another mid-stage foundation building cultivator named Qi Kun said, everyone, it's not just outside the city, but the city is also starting to get nervous, because the city lord has secretly ordered to start investigating the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect. Recently, both inside and outside the city are secretly investigating. You should be able to notice it soon. I hope everyone will be careful then. Such news immediately made the already heavy atmosphere become extremely solemn. Has the situation become so tense? Zhu Ming sighed softly, and it seemed that even his voice became bitter. The same was true for the others. Their faces became very solemn. It was obvious that they were worried and afraid that they would be affected. Only Wei Hong looked confused, and he didn't know what they were talking about just now. Zhu Ming happened to turn his head and look at Wei Hong at this time. Seeing the puzzled expression on his face, he immediately understood, so he leaned over and explained to him in a low voice, Friend Wei, you have been staying in the Spirit Plant Garden for the past few years and have not shown up, so you don't know. 2 years ago, an evil sect called the Blood Spirit sect suddenly revealed its tracks and began to appear near Kangshan Immortal City. The evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect are all cruel and ruthless, and they are capable of all kinds of evil. Their appearance caused considerable panic in the city at the time. I believe you already know about the Cao family's affairs. The ancestor of the Cao family, Cao Jin, is actually a pawn of the Blood Spirit sect. The Cao family was destroyed after being exposed. In addition, after Zhu Ming's explanation, Wei Hong finally understood what they were talking about just now. It turned out that 2 years ago, an evil cultivator of the Blood Spirit sect suddenly exposed his whereabouts near Kangshan Immortal City and was killed on the spot by the Kangshan guard. Although the evil cultivator had died, the news of the Blood Spirit sect was spread. As a result, countless cultivators in Kangshan Immortal City knew that the evil sect of the Blood Spirit sect was actually lurking nearby. If it weren't for the evil cultivator's accidental exposure, they didn't know when they would know about it. This immediately caused panic among many cultivators, but the matter was quickly suppressed. However, as time went on, a large number of cultivators began to know that the Blood Spirit sect had infiltrated Kangshan Immortal City a long time ago. No one knew how long they had infiltrated, or to what extent. Among them, the ancestor of the Cao family was a pawn of the Blood Spirit sect, which was why he was immediately killed by the Kangshan Immortal City after he was exposed. Facing the evil cultivator who wanted to infiltrate Kangshan Immortal City, Kangshan Immortal City would naturally show no mercy. Therefore, Kangshan Immortal City has recently begun to secretly investigate the evil cultivators infiltrated by the Blood Spirit sect in the city, hoping to find them all and deal with them. At the same time, the patrols outside the city have also been intensified to ensure that even if there are evil cultivators around the Immortal City, they can respond in the first time and prevent the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect from causing any impact on Kangshan Immortal City. As a result, the situation inside and outside Kangshan Immortal City suddenly became tense and solemn. Zhu Ming and others were naturally able to perceive the changes in the situation, so they were so worried. This is also the reason why they held a small group gathering this time, in order to exchange information with each other, so as not to be affected by not understanding the situation. The deacons present were all smart people, and they all noticed the various abnormalities in the city at this time. They all felt more or less uneasy in their hearts. Even if they learned more intelligence information after communication, they still couldn't feel at ease. After all, no one knew how far the Blood Spirit sect had infiltrated. Maybe there was an evil cultivator of the Blood Spirit sect hiding beside them. Therefore, a trace of haze emerged in everyone's hearts. Chapter 739, Danger lurks on every side. The side hall became quiet again. Everyone remained silent, and their faces showed worry, because they all knew that the appearance of the Blood Spirit sect would definitely affect them. After all, the Blood Spirit sect had already infiltrated Kangshan Immortal City, and no one knew where the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect were hiding. This was the most worrying thing. Although there seemed to be no changes on the surface of Kangshan Immortal City at this time, The deacons all knew that undercurrents had long been surging under the surface. As an evil sect that everyone wanted to fight, Kangshan Immortal City would never allow the Blood Spirit sect to cause chaos here, so the actions of Kangshan Immortal City would only become larger and more obvious, and the situation would become more and more serious. It was okay for ordinary deacons like them, but if they were members of the Kangshan Guard or Masters of the Punishment Hall, they would definitely have to face the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect directly, and they might lose their lives if they were not careful. At this time, the old man named Suji sighed and said, "Everyone, please be careful. In my opinion, it is best for you not to leave the Immortal City in the near future. If you have a mission, it is best not to leave the station. This is the safest way. As long as the Immortal City finds out all the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect and deals with them, then we will have avoided this wave of crisis." Facing Suji's earnest advice, everyone nodded silently. Although they are the deacons of Kangshan Immortal City, they are actually ordinary foundation-building cultivators. They can't afford to offend the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect, nor dare to offend Kangshan Immortal City or other forces. So when there is a crisis that may affect the whole city, hiding is their best choice. Even Wei Hong was nervous and worried at this time. Damn it, I didn't expect that the Cao family was exterminated because of the evil cultivation of the Blood Spirit sect. If I hadn't attended this gathering, I might have been kept in the dark. Wei Hong was worried and couldn't help cursing in his heart. What is this? I thought the trouble of the Cao family was over, but who knew they would cause even bigger trouble? Why didn't the damn Cao family refuse to be exterminated honestly? Why did 2 members of the family escape? Do the escaped Cao Jin and Cao Ming know that the ancestor of the Cao family practiced evil skills? Do they have any connection with the Blood Spirit sect? It seems that the 2 survivors of the Cao family may really be staying near Kangshan Immortal City. If they have been in contact with the Blood Spirit sect, won't they continue to find ways to cause trouble next? After all kinds of thoughts turned over in his mind, Wei Hong suddenly became more nervous. There was no other reason, but he was worried that Cao Jin and Cao Ming would come directly to his house to retaliate against him. Since the Blood Spirit sect has already infiltrated Kangshan Immortal City for a long time, it proves that there must be a large number of evil cultivators or pawns in this city. Perhaps before the Cao family was wiped out, they might not care about Wei Hong because there was a more powerful enemy, the Tang family, in front of them. But now that the Cao family has been wiped out, it is impossible for Cao Jin and Cao Ming, who have escaped, to set their sights on Wei Hong again. After all, they may not be able to seek revenge on Kangshan Immortal City, but revenge on Wei Hong is absolutely no problem. When Wei Hong thought of this, his heart was alarmed. No way. The 2 people who escaped from the Cao family didn't really leave Kangshan Immortal City. When this idea came up, he could no longer suppress it. At the same time, he also thought of another possible situation. Even if the 2 survivors of the Cao family didn't come to me, if the Kangshan Immortal City pressed too hard, and the Blood Spirit sect and Kangshan Immortal City started a war, what should I do? Thinking of this, Wei Hong's sense of crisis suddenly became stronger. It was because the number 7 spiritual plant garden where he was stationed was outside Kangshan Immortal City. Although it was not far from the Immortal City, it was indeed outside the Immortal City. Once a war broke out between the Blood Spirit sect and Kangshan Immortal City, the war would definitely affect all forces in areas near the Immortal City. At that time, under the turbulent situation, people outside the city would have no chance to escape, and they might be affected by the Blood Spirit sect at any time, or be summoned by Kangshan Immortal City, thus falling into the vortex of war. So the more Wei Hong thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. He thought to himself, once the Blood Spirit sect and Kangshan Immortal City go to war, the people outside the city will definitely be the first to be affected. If I stay in the spiritual plant garden, I will definitely not be able to avoid this crisis. Originally, he thought that he could stay in the spiritual plant garden for more than 10 or 20 years, but who would have thought that the situation would change so quickly? Although the current situation is far from what he wants, in the long run, the possibility of a war between the Blood Spirit sect and Kangshan Immortal City is indeed not small at all. He will not sit back and relax just because things have not happened yet. Instead, he is getting more nervous and worried. After all, people need to plan ahead. No, I can't stay in the spirit plant garden. I must immediately find a way to change my identity or job. No matter what I do, I just need to stay inside the Immortal City and never stay outside the city again. The more Wei Hong thought about it, the more uneasy he felt, so he immediately made a wise decision. At this time, influenced by the words of the old man Suji, the rest of the people had no interest in talking. So Ki-kun waved his hand and said, "In this case, let's disperse. We will decide based on the situation later. If we hold another gathering, Ki will leave a message." As soon as this was said, everyone stood up, bowed to each other and said goodbye, looking a little worried. Zhu Ming was about to take Wei Hong with him to leave, but Wei Hong whispered to him, "Fellow Taoist Zhu, let's talk for a moment." Zhu Ming glanced at him, then nodded slightly but didn't say anything, just slowed down his movements and didn't leave in a hurry. Chen Hong, who was standing next to him, didn't show any abnormality when he saw this. He nodded to the two of them and then stood up and walked out of the side hall. Soon, only Zhu Ming and Wei Hong were left in the side hall. Seeing that everyone else had left, Wei Hong asked Zhu Ming with a serious face, "Fellow Taoist Zhu, is the matter of the blood spirit sect true?" Zhu Ming's face was also solemn at this time. He nodded heavily and said, "It's true, fellow Taoist Wei, I believe you must have some concerns in your heart, right? After all, the number 7 spiritual plant garden where you are in charge is not far outside the city." Zhu Ming obviously understood Wei Hong's intention to keep him, and at this time he also revealed Wei Hong's concerns. Wei Hong sighed helplessly and said, "Alice, what fellow Taoist Zhu said is absolutely right. It is precisely because I am extremely worried that I want to ask you for advice." Among this group of deacons, the one he trusted the most was Zhu Ming, so Wei Hong went to Zhu Ming to ask, and he also believed that Zhu Ming would tell him frankly. Chapter 740 Dan Wong Pavilion. I don't deserve your advice, but I will tell you everything I know. Zhu Ming did not disappoint Wei Hong, and made a promise as soon as he opened his mouth. So Wei Hong did not hide anything and asked directly, "Dao Zhu, I wonder if there are any good places to go in the city now. You have been in the city for a long time, so you must know more than me. The situation is turbulent now, and I don't know when the blood spirit sect will cause chaos. If I stay outside the city, I don't know when I will be affected, and I may even be attacked by the blood spirit sect. Therefore, I want to change my job and want to ask you for advice." Facing Zhu Ming, he did not intend to hide his thoughts. After all, Zhu Ming is indeed his most trusted fellow Taoist now, and Zhu Ming has helped him many times before, all of which Wei Hong remembered. Zhu Ming seemed to have guessed Wei Hong's idea. He pondered for a moment, then slowly said, "If it was any other deacon or ordinary cultivator, I naturally wouldn't have any good recommendations, but you are different, because you have the skill of alchemy. Nowadays in this fairy city, as long as you know one of the 4 arts of immortal cultivation, you can find a good job, and the same is true for alchemy. If you really want to change your job, I recommend that you try Dan Wong Pavilion." Zhu Ming directly gave a good choice based on Wei Hong's own advantages. It was precisely because Zhu Ming had been staying in Kangshan Fairy City that he knew much more about the various situations in the city than Wei Hong. After hearing this, Wei Hong's eyes suddenly lit up, and he hurriedly asked, "Dan Wong Pavilion? But is it a force under the command of Xiancheng?" "Yes, Dan Wong Pavilion is indeed affiliated with Xiancheng." Zhu Ming nodded, and then explained, "And Dan Wong Pavilion is one of the most important institutions under Xiancheng, specializing in providing various elixirs to Xiancheng, so it is also recruiting a large number of alchemists from outside. It is precisely because of this that the rank of the alchemists in Dan Wong Pavilion is the same as the rank of the deacons in Xiancheng, both starting from the lowest 3rd grade. I think with fellow Taoist Wei skills, it should not be difficult to enter Dan Wong Pavilion. As for the rest, you will need to find out after you go in." Upon hearing this, Wei Hong immediately clasped his fists in gratitude and said, "Thank you, fellow Taoist Zhu, for your guidance. Wei is very grateful. If you need my help in the future, please feel free to speak up." "Hey, fellow Taoist Wei, what are you doing? We don't have to be like this. Do you still need to be polite?" Zhu Ming immediately waved his hands at Wei Hong, but he was a little annoyed by Wei Hong's politeness. Wei Hong didn't mind. He chuckled and said, "Haha, Dao is right. I won't say much about my gratitude. Please take these 2 talismans. If you encounter an unstoppable enemy, you can try to use these 2 talismans directly. It should be able to help you." He didn't say any more words of gratitude, but directly took out 2 self-destruct talismans and handed them to Zhu Ming. This was just a small token of his appreciation, and he hoped that Zhu Ming would never need to use them. This time, Zhu Ming took it without refusing, and then asked curiously, "Dao Wei, what kind of talisman is this? Are you also good at drawing talismans?" "Haha, Dao don't need to ask more, just remember what I said. In addition, Dao, please be careful." Wei Hong didn't explain much. After talking to Zhu Ming for a few words, he bowed and said goodbye. Zhu Ming nodded silently, and after watching Wei Hong leave, he solemnly put away the two talismans. After Wei Hong walked out of the Kangling Hall, he did not leave Kangshan Immortal City immediately. After he returned this time, he would definitely make various preparations for leaving the Spirit Plant Garden, so before returning, he had to buy all the things he needed urgently, so that even if he could not enter the Danwon Pavilion, he would not have to worry about the shortage of materials. Moreover, he thought so for another reason, that is, the problem of the Blood Spirit Sect's rebellion. Once the Blood Spirit Sect really started to rebellion and went to war with Kangshan Immortal City, the prices of various materials in the Immortal City would definitely soar. If you want to buy any materials at that time, you may have to pay several times or even more than 10 times the current price, which is not acceptable to Wei Hong. So he thought about it and walked towards the direction of Yuan Hall. 2 hours later, Wei Hong slowly left Kangshan Immortal City, flew up on his sword and returned directly to the Spirit Plant Garden. After returning to the Spirit Plant Garden, he came directly to the secret room. Sitting cross-legged on the golden silk cushion, he took out 8 jade slips from his storage bag and placed them in front of him. This time when he went out to gather information, in addition to getting the information he wanted, he also accidentally learned about the existence of the Blood Spirit Sect. In addition to purchasing a large number of materials needed for alchemy, refining and drawing talismans, the remaining harvest was the 8 jade slips placed in front of him. 4 of them were purchased from Bao Kixun, including Renmu Substitute Technique, Kingpin Sealing Technique, Xiangang Breaking Evil Talisman, and Lingai In Talisman, and the remaining 4 were 4 kinds of pill recipes purchased from Yuan Hall, namely the second-level medium grade, Huanshan Pill, Yishan Pill, and Huasheng Pill, and the second-level top grade, Jinsui Pill. Among these 4 pill recipes, the Hunshan Pill was the one he had seized from the Cao family cultivator before, and now he simply bought the pill recipe back to prepare for his own refining, while the Yishan Pill was a pill that could be used to increase the soul and strengthen the consciousness, but the effect might be relatively slow and it would take a long time to be effective. Huasheng Dan is a pill suitable for cultivation after the 5th level of foundation building. The medicinal effect is relatively strong, and the 4th level of foundation building cannot bear it for the time being. This is what Wei Hong prepared for himself after breaking through to the 5th level of foundation building. As for the last 2nd level upper grade Jinsu Dan, it is a pill suitable for cultivation above the 7th level of foundation building. The reason why he bought it together is just to be prepared. In addition to these 4 pill recipes, Wei Hong also purchased a large number of alchemy materials in Yuan Hall. Together with the 4 pill recipes, he spent thousands of medium-grade spirit stones. The 20,000 medium-grade spirit stones he obtained from selling monster materials are now only half of them. However, the tens of thousands of vitality points obtained from hunting monsters have been kept and have not been used, and this large amount of vitality points will be all his inventory for the next few years. The situation is turbulent now, and I can't go out hunting in the short term. It seems that this amount of vitality points needs to be used sparingly. Wei Hong thought secretly, and at this time he was also glad that he had stored tens of thousands of vitality points in advance and had not used them. With these tens of thousands of vitality points, he would be prepared for any eventuality, whether it was to improve his skills or deal with emergencies. This was also one of his confidence. Let's get started. Thinking this in his mind, Wei Hong picked up one of the jade slips. Chapter 741 Minoru's Substitution Technique. Ling. The 2nd level top grade spell Renmu Substitute Technique was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is entry level, 1/500, Ling. The 2nd level middle grade spell Kingpin Sealing Technique was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is entry level, 1/500, Ling. The 2nd level middle grade talisman Xiangang Posha Talisman was successfully recorded, and the current proficiency is entry level, 1/500. In less than half an hour, Wei Hong successively recorded all the spells, talismans, and pill recipes recorded in the 8 jade slips into the system. After recording them, he thought about it, and then began to add vitality points to these newly recorded skills, and directly began to improve the realm. Ling. The proficiency of the second level top grade spell Renmu substitute technique plus 500. The current proficiency is Mastery, 1/800, Ling. The proficiency of the second level top grade spell Renmu substitute technique is plus 800, and the current proficiency is Minor Success, 1/1200, Ling. The proficiency of the second level top grade spell Renmu substitute technique is plus 1200, and the current proficiency is Major Success, 1/1600. Wei Hong first spent thousands of vitality points to directly upgrade Renmu substitute technique and Kingpin sealing technique to the Major Success level. Then he spent more than an hour absorbing the various experiences and insights that emerged in his mind, and then stopped to rest for a while. Then he repeated this, and each time he upgraded the realm of 2 skills at the same time. After all, he needed to constantly absorb the experiences and insights that appeared in his mind. He didn't dare to upgrade 8 skills at once, otherwise his brain would not be able to withstand the impact of the torrent of information. In this way, Wei Hong spent most of the day to complete the series of things such as recording and upgrading the realm. This time, the realms of the 8 skills were different. First, the 4 skills, Renmu substitute technique, Kingpin sealing technique, Lingai in talisman, and Yishin pill, were all upgraded to the Great Accomplishment realm. This was because these 4 skills did not have a decisive effect on his current situation, so he only needed to upgrade them to the Great Accomplishment realm first, and did not need to spend too many vitality points on them for the time being, so as to avoid insufficient vitality points in the future. The second was the second grade top grade pill recipe, Golden Marrow pill. Because it was of a high grade and could not be refined at present, he upgraded it to the small accomplishment realm first. The next was the Xiangang Posha talisman. Wei Hong considered that he might face the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect next. The methods of those evil cultivators were generally known for their evil and insidiousness, so the Xiangang Posha talisman was likely to come in handy, so he directly upgraded it to the perfection realm. The last 2 remaining pill recipes, Hunshan pill and Huansheng pill, were directly upgraded to the extreme realm by Wei Hong. In this way, even though he had stored tens of thousands of vitality points in advance, he still used up most of them at once, leaving less than 20,000 points. This also made Wei Hong dare not use them recklessly. After doing these things, he left the secret room directly. Coming to the small courtyard, looking at the dead blood vines crawling on the wall next to him, Wei Hong fell into deep thought, and after a long time he murmured, "Since the decision has been made, it is better to do it sooner rather than later, otherwise there will be changes." After saying that, his eyes became firm. He just waved his hand, and a green sword light flew towards the dead blood vine, and then the flying sword kept cutting back and forth, and in a moment, all the dead blood vines that were originally crawling on the wall were cut off. Because he had decided to leave the spiritual plant garden as soon as possible, he had to clean up everything here and take away everything he could take away. The withered blood vine could not be left behind, lest the deacon who came later guessed that he was practicing the paper figurine technique, so he directly cut all the withered blood vines and stored them as materials, and only left a few rhizomes, so that it would be more convenient to plant them later. After packing up the withered blood vine, Wei Hong collected all the personal belongings in the 2 courtyards, and then used the mud and sand fossil technique to seal the secret room under the ground, and then went to his alchemy room. Because the alchemy room was built by him next to the ground fire, it was quite a distance away from the courtyard. Since he was going to leave the spiritual plant garden, he naturally had to seal the alchemy room as well. When he came to the ground where the alchemy room was located, Wei Hong first put away the formation that covered the entrance of the tunnel, then went down to the door of the alchemy room, and while retreating, he used the mud and sand fossil technique to seal the tunnel section by section, and finally sealed the entrance of the tunnel. After doing all this and checking it carefully, he took all his belongings and left the number 7 spiritual plant garden. One day later, Wei Hong came to the Foreign Affairs Hall again and went directly to the 2nd floor. "Hello, Senior. I wonder if there is anything I can do for you." A beautiful maid on the 2nd floor came up to Wei Hong as soon as she saw him appear, and asked enthusiastically with a sweet smile. Wei Hong nodded calmly and said, "I wonder if Brother Liu is here." When he first came to the Foreign Affairs Hall, it was Liu who was responsible for receiving him. Moreover, he was able to work in the number 7 spiritual plant garden because of Liu's recommendation in lobbying. The formalities for the appointment were also handled by Liu. Therefore, When he came to the Foreign Affairs Hall to change his job this time, he naturally had to find Liu. After all, Liu was one of the stewards of the Foreign Affairs Hall. When the maid heard what Wei Hong said, she immediately replied respectfully, "Yes, Senior, are you looking for Steward Liu? Then please sit here for a while, I will go down to inform the steward right away." "Well, go." Wei Hong waved his hand and walked to a coffee table and sat down. The maid bowed and left immediately, not daring to be negligent. Soon, another maid brought him a cup of fragrant spiritual tea, and stepped aside after seeing that Wei Hong had no other requests. A moment later, Liu appeared in front of Wei Hong. "Haha, it turns out that it is Brother Wei who has come. Don't blame me for not welcoming you." Before he approached, Liu's familiar and enthusiastic laughter came over. Liu would naturally not forget Wei Hong. They, the immortal cultivators, could be said to have photographic memories, not to mention that they had met more than once. Wei Hong stood up hurriedly upon seeing this, then chuckled and said, "Haha, how dare I trouble fellow Taoist Liu to greet me? Besides, this time I came here because I have something to trouble fellow Taoist Liu. I hope fellow Taoist Liu doesn't think it's a trouble." But Liu laughed and said, "Haha, why bother me? I am responsible for serving all of you fellow Taoists. Fellow Taoist Wei, please feel free to speak up. Liu will not refuse anything he can do." As he spoke, Liu and Wei Hong sat down face to face. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 742, Change of Allegiance. Dao Wei, I remember you seem to have gone to the number 7 spiritual plant garden, right? How are you doing recently? How come you have time to come to my place today? After the greetings, Liu took the initiative to ask. He naturally knew that Wei Hong would not come to visit him for no reason, but he was still a little curious about the purpose of Wei Hong's visit. Although Liu was the manager of the Foreign Affairs Hall, he could not handle everything, so he was very cautious at this time and asked Wei Hong's purpose during the casual conversation. Wei Hong naturally understood what Liu meant. He smiled and said, "Haha, Dao Liu actually remembers where I work. It's really an honor for me. In fact, my visit this time is also related to my job." "Oh? Dao, why don't you just say it?" Liu smiled faintly. "It's very simple. I'm here to change my job." Wei Hong looked at Liu, without any intention of hiding anything. He directly stated his intention and said, "I have been in the number 7 spiritual plant garden for more than 10 years. Now I have broken through to the 3rd level of foundation building. If I stay in the spiritual plant garden any longer, it will not be of much benefit to me to break through to the middle stage of foundation building. Therefore, I want to change my job. I hope that Dao Liu can help me." As soon as he said this, Liu stared at Wei Hong with wide eyes. After carefully sensing it, he exclaimed, "It turns out that Dao has broken through to the 3rd level of foundation building. Liu is really disrespectful. Dao's cultivation has improved to this level in just over 10 years. It seems that Dao Wei must have extraordinary talent. Haha, compared with Dao, I am a little ashamed." To be honest, Liu's shock in his heart was actually much stronger than it appeared on the surface. It was because he knew very well that when he first met Wei Hong was still a casual cultivator who had just broken through to the foundation building stage and came to the Foreign Affairs Hall in order to join Kangshan Immortal City. But in the blink of an eye, after not seeing each other for 12 or 13 years, Wei Hong has already broken through to the 3rd level of foundation building. This really shocked Liu. You know, he has been hovering at the 3rd level of foundation building for so many years and has not broken through yet, but now Wei Hong has caught up. Upon hearing this, Wei Hong said modestly, "Haha, fellow Taoist Liu, don't make fun of me. Wei has been in seclusion for more than 10 years. Now I have encountered a bottleneck, so I want to change my job to see if I can find an opportunity to break through the bottleneck. Of course there is no problem with this." Liu waved his hand and asked directly, "What kind of job do you want to change to, fellow Taoist Wei? You have been in charge of the spiritual plant garden for more than 10 years, and changing your job is not a problem. Whether it is the reason given by Wei Hong or his performance in the spiritual plant garden for more than 10 years, it is enough for him to change his job without any obstacles." Wei Hong looked at Liu Yu at this time and said in a prepared manner, "To be honest with you, I want to work as a steward in Dan Wang Pavilion." "What? You want to work in Dan Wang Pavilion? Are you serious?" Liu Yu was greatly surprised when he heard this, and instantly stared at Wei Hong with wide eyes. He did not expect that Wei Hong not only cultivated very quickly, but also knew how to make pills. This was beyond his expectations, and he also had a hint of doubt. Seeing the doubt in Liu Yu's eyes, Wei Hong just smiled and said, "Yes, it is Dan Wang Pavilion. I will not joke with you. Please look, this is a bottle of pills I made." As he said that, he took out a bottle of Zhangyang pills and handed it to Liu Yu. Liu Yu took it subconsciously, then smiled awkwardly, poured out a pill from the jade bottle, and carefully examined it in the palm of his hand. After a moment, he looked up at Wei Hong with surprise. "Fellow Taoist Wei, this Zhangyang pill?" "Yes, it is indeed this Zhangyang pill, and it was made by Wei myself, there is no falsehood." Wei Hong nodded in the affirmative answer, and then asked, "How about it, fellow Taoist Liu? With my alchemy skills, it should not be a problem for me to go to Dan Wang Pavilion to serve as a deacon." Liu Yu let out a long sigh, then looked at Wei Hong with a complicated look in his eyes, and slowly said, "I didn't expect that fellow Taoist Wei also knows the art of alchemy. I am sorry for my disrespect. Since fellow Taoist can refine this Zhangyang pill, it is naturally no problem for you to go to Dan Wang Pavilion to serve as a deacon. Have you thought it through?" "Once I have thought it through, I will go to Dan Wang Pavilion." Wei Hong's face was firm. Seeing that Wei Hong had made his choice, Liu Yu stopped trying to persuade him. He first returned the jade bottle to Wei Hong, and then introduced, "In that case, I will replace the token for you later. But you must know that Dan Wang Pavilion has requirements for stewards. This is naturally nothing for you, but Dan Wang Pavilion will have an assessment every 6 months. If you fail to pass the assessment twice in a row, you will be directly expelled from Dan Wang Pavilion. I hope you will keep this in mind. You will understand it after you enter Dan Wang Pavilion." "Okay, thank you for your guidance." Wei Hong clasped his fists to express his gratitude. Liu Yu waved his hand and smiled, "You are welcome. By the way, please hand over the identity token and the prohibition token of the spiritual plant garden to me first." "Okay, they're all here." Wei Hong nodded in response, and took out 2 tokens and handed them to Liu Yu. Liu Yu took them and put them away directly, and then took out another identity token from the storage bag. As he handed it to Wei Hong, he introduced, "Fellow Taoist Wei, please take a look. This is the identity token of the steward of Dan Wang Pavilion. Like you before, you are also a 3rd-rank steward. Please take it." "Thank you." Wei Hong took the token solemnly. He looked down and saw that the whole token was black. There was a word Dan engraved on the front, and 2 tiny alchemy furnaces were engraved on both sides of the word. On the back of the token was a word San, which represented Wei Hong's steward rank. Seeing Wei Hong accept the token, Liu Yu said again, "Fellow Taoist Wei, from now on you are a 3rd-rank steward of Dan Wang Pavilion. I will arrange for someone to take over the number 7 spiritual plant garden. In addition, I will also re-register your identity. Fellow Taoist, you can officially take up your post at Dan Wang Pavilion tomorrow." Wei Hong's identity information had already been recorded by the Foreign Affairs Hall. Now that he had changed his job, his identity information naturally had to be updated to avoid any omissions. Wei Hong also understood this and responded directly, "Okay, no problem, I'll trouble you, Brother Liu." He was naturally very satisfied that he could join Dan Wang Pavilion as a steward so easily. Joining Dan Wang Pavilion means that he has escaped from the vortex outside the city. No matter what happens outside the city, or any unrest, it will not affect him at all, and he will not fall into danger. Therefore, Wei Hong's move now is right. After completing the change of errands, he chatted with Liu Yu for a few more words, and then said goodbye to Liu Yu and left, preparing to take up his post at Dan Wang Pavilion tomorrow. Chapter 743, Earthfire Palace. The next day, Wei Hong woke up from meditation early in the morning, packed up a little and left the inn. After leaving the inn, he called a beast cart, casually said Dan Wang Pavilion, and then closed his eyes to rest in the car. "I didn't expect that joining Dan Wang Pavilion would be so smooth. I don't know what will happen after entering." Sitting on the beast cart, Wei Hong was thinking secretly in his heart. He was actually very satisfied that he could successfully get rid of the job in the spirit plant garden this time. At least he didn't have to worry about the evil cultivators of the blood spirit sect posing any threat to him in the short term. He had great expectations for life after joining Dan Wang Pavilion. Being able to return to the Immortal City, no matter how you look at it, the benefits outweigh the disadvantages. Soon, the beast cart arrived in front of Dan Wang Pavilion. After Wei Hong threw a low-grade spirit stone to the driver, he got off the car leisurely. When he looked up at the entire Dan Wang Pavilion, he couldn't help but be stunned. In front of him was an ancient stone palace that looked quite large. This stone hall is hundreds of feet long and wide, and more than 10 feet high. It looks like a huge monster crawling on the ground. Wei Hong looked a little small when he stood in front of the stone hall. The whole stone hall is black from the outside. It is built entirely of huge stones 1 foot long. There are some faint mysterious runes carved on the surface of the stone hall, which cannot be found without careful observation. The gate of Dan Wang Pavilion is 3 feet high, and 3 feet above the gate are engraved with 3 vigorous characters, Dan Wang Pavilion. At this time, there are 2 cultivators at the peak of key training acting as guards at the gate of Dan Wang Pavilion. When they saw Wei Hong approaching, they cast a scrutinizing gaze over. Wei Hong slightly expanded his aura and walked to the door with a calm face. The 2 guards suddenly looked stern, and a look of respect immediately appeared on their faces. They did not dare to neglect him. The man on the left hurriedly asked, "Hello, senior. May I ask what your name is? What is the purpose of your visit?" As the guards of Dan Wang Pavilion, although they did not dare to be disrespectful to a foundation-building cultivator, they did not need to be too afraid. After all, Dan Wang Pavilion was not a place that anyone could force their way into, so they needed to ask every visitor clearly about their purpose. Wei Hong did not mean to embarrass them. He took out the new identity token and showed it to the 2 guards, and said lightly, "I am the new deacon. My surname is Wei and my name is Hong. I have come to report today. This is my identity token." The 2 guards immediately looked respectful after seeing the token. The guard on the left immediately bowed and said, "Hello, Deacon Wei. I am not very good at seeing things. I hope you will not blame me. Please come in. The deacon token of Dan Wang Pavilion is very unique, and these guards will never make a mistake." The guard on the right also bowed, his face full of respect. Since they already knew that Wei Hong was the new steward of Dan Wang Pavilion, the guards naturally had to behave respectfully. Wei Hong nodded gently, but did not go in immediately. Instead, he asked, "By the way, this is also the first time for Wei to come to Dan Wang Pavilion. I wonder who I should find to report to." Upon hearing this, the guard on the left immediately asked, reporting to the steward, "If you are new to the office, you must first report to the recorder hall. If you don't mind, I can lead the way." "Okay, thank you." Wei Hong nodded. The guard hurriedly smiled and said, "It is my honor. Please come this way." Wei Hong stepped into the gate of Dan Wang Pavilion, and then entered a hall that looked very spacious. There was nothing set up in this hall, and it seemed a little empty, but there were many people coming and going, but everyone was a little hurried. There were arches in front of the hall and on both sides, with different characters carved on top. Dehoro Hall, Recorder Hall, Lecture Hall, Storage Hall. Wei Hong saw various names at a glance, including the Recorder Hall where he was going to report. Sure enough, the guard led him directly to the archway of the Registrar's Hall, and while leading the way, he whispered to Wei Hong, "Master Deacon, each archway here leads to a different place. You should have seen that there are name signs above the archways. Now we are going to the Registrar's Hall, which is responsible for registering the identities of all the personnel in the Dan Wang Pavilion. This is your first time here, so you should go there first." Wei Hong nodded to show his understanding, and suddenly asked, "Then where do the alchemists usually make pills?" "The Earth Fire Hall." The guard immediately nodded and replied, "Yes, it's in the Earth Fire Hall. You will know when you go in." Wei Hong did not ask any more questions after hearing this. After walking through the archway, what appeared in front of him was a long and spacious passage. There were many stone doors on both sides of the passage, but these stone doors had no signs. Some of the stone doors were closed, and some were open. The guard took Wei Hong to the first stone door on the left, but did not go in. Instead, he turned around and said to Wei Hong respectfully, "Sir, I can only send you here. After you go in, take out your identity token to register." "Okay, go ahead." Wei Hong waved his hand. The guard bowed respectfully and then left. Wei Hong straightened his face, pushed open the stone door and walked in slowly. When he walked in, he saw a wooden table more than 10 feet long. Behind the wooden table, a middle-aged man was sitting cross-legged. Behind this man and on both sides were wooden shelves, on which a large number of jade slips and books were placed. After hearing the sound of the door opening, the middle-aged man behind the wooden desk immediately looked up, and when he saw Wei Hong, he asked calmly, "Dao, is there anything I can do for you?" Wei Hong clasped his hands and said, "My name is Wei Hong, the new deacon of Danwon Pavilion. I have come here to report today." "What is your name?" "Oh? It turns out to be a new Taoist." The middle-aged man behind the wooden desk became enthusiastic when he heard it, and hurriedly stood up and said, "I am Zhao Mingquan, a third-rank deacon of Danwon Pavilion. I am in charge of registration in the recorder hall." "Haha, since it is your first time to report, you should indeed register with me first." "Haha, it turns out to be Taoist Zhao. Thank you very much." Wei Hong smiled slightly and handed over his identity token. Zhao Mingquan took the token with both hands, and then said to Wei Hong, "Dao Wei, please wait a moment, Zhao will register you right away." After that, he picked up a blank jade slip from the wooden table, and then asked Wei Hong, "By the way, Zhao needs to ask Dao a few questions in order to register Dao's specific information." "Dao, please ask." Wei Hong nodded. Zhao Mingquan asked, "Dao Wei, what realm are you in now? What level of alchemist are you good at refining? These need to be recorded, I hope Dao don't mind." Chapter 744 Responsibilities and Benefits. Nothing, Wei understands. Wei Hong waved his hand and answered directly, "Wei is now at the third level of foundation building, but Wei can refine second-level middle-grade elixirs, and is good at Yuhu Dan, Zhanggyang Dan, Hundian Dan, Kingsu Dan and Zuinigun Dan, which are elixirs that improve cultivation. This information is not important. He will not hide anything except his cultivation. Moreover, he has just joined the Danwon Pavilion. If he does not show his true ability, how can he gain a foothold here?" Therefore, he did not hesitate to tell others about the several elixirs he could refine. According to Wei Hong's idea, he can only show himself as well as possible, so that he can be valued and find more opportunities to make money. The most important thing is that these elixirs are only part of what he knows. He has not exposed all the remaining elixir recipes, and he will decide according to the situation in the future. Hearing Wei Hong's words, Zhao Mingquan was a little surprised, and his face became more enthusiastic. He hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist Wei has actually reached the third level of foundation building. I'm so sorry. Moreover, fellow Taoist can actually refine second-grade mid-quality elixirs, and they are all elixirs that can be used to improve cultivation. It's really admirable. Haha, it seems that our Danwon Pavilion will have another powerful alchemist. Fellow Taoist Zhao, you are too kind. I'm afraid my skills are just at the bottom of the Danwon Pavilion. I don't deserve it." Wei Hong waved his hands hurriedly and naturally would not continue to agree with the other party's words. While Zhao Mingquan was recording Wei Hong's information, he said with a smile, "Haha, fellow Taoist, don't be modest. We in Danwon Pavilion have always valued alchemy talents like you. It is really a wise choice for you to choose Danwon Pavilion." After a moment, he put down the jade slip in his hand and said to Wei Hong, "I have recorded all of your information, but there are some things and some precautions that I need to explain to you in advance to avoid misunderstandings." When he said this, Zhao Mingquan's face became solemn. Wei Hong was startled when he heard that, but he said calmly, "Haha, that's the best. I'm new here and still have a lot of questions. If Brother Zhao can give me some advice, I'll be very grateful." Zhao Mingquan waved his hand and said, "I don't deserve your advice, but Brother Zhao is new to Danwon Pavilion, and I should explain it to you clearly. The first thing is, although Brother Dao just said that he can refine second-grade mid-quality pills, words are not enough. You may need to verify it in person later. Don't worry, Brother Dao, Zhao is not targeting you. This is also the rule of Danwon Pavilion. We need to determine your alchemy level before making arrangements. If it is confirmed that Brother Dao can really refine second-grade mid-quality pills, then we will give you corresponding treatment." Wei Hong was not surprised at all by this request. Instead, he asked with a little interest, "Oh? I wonder what kind of treatment a second-grade mid-quality alchemist gets." "Haha, that's easy." Zhao Mingquan smiled and answered directly, "Dao Wei, you haven't broken through to the middle stage of foundation building yet, so you are still a third-grade deacon for the time being, But if you can really refine a second-grade medium-grade elixir, then the corresponding treatment will be upgraded by one level. For example, the pavilion can directly arrange a better room for you, and the merit point reward after completing the task will be higher than that of a third-grade deacon. You will slowly understand these later. For the second thing, Zhao wants to tell you about some basic information about Danwang Pavilion. We have many different institutions in Danwang Pavilion, responsible for handling different affairs. I believe you have seen them when you came in, and you will gradually understand the role of these institutions. Now I want to tell you about the Earth Fire Hall. All the alchemists in our Danwang Pavilion will enter the Earth Fire Hall if they want to refine elixirs. The Earth Fire Hall has thousands of alchemy rooms of different levels, which are divided into A, B, C, and D. If you can refine a second-grade medium-grade elixir, you will be eligible to use the C-level alchemy room. The alchemy rooms are connected to the underground fire, and the alchemists of our Danwang Pavilion never limit the usage time. They can use it as long as they want. After speaking for a long time, Zhao Mingquan cleared his throat and continued, in addition, our Danwang Pavilion's deacons have fixed tasks every month. They can get merit points after completing the tasks, and they are evaluated every 6 months. If they fail the evaluation twice in a row, they will be expelled. I hope fellow Taoists will pay attention to this. In addition, our Danwang Pavilion's deacons must take time out to give 2 lectures every month. The purpose of the lectures is to train alchemists for the Danwang Pavilion headquarters. As for what to talk about, these are decided by fellow Taoists. As long as you complete the fixed tasks and lectures, the rest of the time will be allocated by you, and the pavilion will never interfere. And Zhao Mingquan spoke a lot of common sense and various precautions of the Danwang Pavilion in one breath. After listening, Wei Hong immediately had a preliminary understanding of the Danwang Pavilion. Thank you, Taoist Zhao, for your advice. I am grateful. Wei Hong immediately clasped his hands to Zhao Mingquan to show his gratitude. The other party was able to say so much to him, obviously wanting to establish a good relationship with him. He naturally understood this, so he expressed his gratitude directly. Zhao Mingquan showed a faint smile on his face. He stretched out his hands to stop Wei Hong from lifting his hands, and then laughed. Haha, it is my duty to introduce the situation in the pavilion to the newly appointed deacon. Taoist, you don't have to be polite. By the way, Taoist, you will need to go to the affairs hall later to have your alchemy grade determined. Don't forget this. Then, Zhao Mingquan explained to Wei Hong the responsibilities of the affairs hall. The affairs hall is responsible for various miscellaneous affairs in the Danwang Pavilion, such as arranging accommodation, issuing tasks, etc., which are all handled by the affairs hall. Just like a new deacon like Wei Hong, it is generally necessary for the deacon of the affairs hall to determine his alchemy grade. Only after the determination can the next arrangement be made. Zhao Mingquan introduced everything to Wei Hong in such detail. Although it was not a great favor, it was still a great help to Wei Hong, and Wei Hong naturally understood this. So he smiled at Zhao Mingquan and said, Haha, Dao has explained it to me so clearly. I naturally know what to do next. I will keep your advice in mind and repay you in the future. After getting Wei Hong's promise, Zhao Mingquan smiled and said hurriedly, Well, what's the point of repaying me? Dao, just come to my place often when you are free in the future. Haha, that's naturally no problem. I hope you don't think it's a bother. Wei Hong agreed with a big laugh, and chatted with him for a while before leaving the recorder's hall. Chapter 745, Grade Identification. Danwang Pavilion, Affairs Hall. When Wei Hong arrived at the affairs hall and told one of the deacons about his purpose, the third-rank deacon named Guan Yu immediately became serious and asked, Dao Wei, are you sure you can refine a second-level middle-grade pill? No lie, Wei came here this time just to get a confirmation of the grade of alchemy. Wei Hong nodded, his expression full of affirmation. Guan Yu immediately agreed after hearing this. Okay, Dao, what kind of pill do you want to refine? Kinksu pill. Wei Hong replied. Okay, then refine Kinksu pill. Guan Yu made a decision immediately, then called a servant and ordered him, take my token to the warehouse to get 3 batches of materials needed to refine Kinksu pill, and then bring them to me in the number 1 alchemy room of the Earth Fire Hall. Yes, deacon. The servant immediately took the token and left. At this time, Guan Yu turned around and explained to Wei Hong, Haha, fellow Taoist Wei is a new deacon. This is the first time to conduct alchemy grade identification. There are 3 chances. As long as one of the 3 times succeeds, it will be considered as completed. This is why Guan Yu ordered people to collect 3 sets of materials at a time. Hearing this, Wei Hong smiled and nodded and said, I see, thank you, fellow Taoist Guan. Guan Yu waved his hand and said with a smile, let's go, fellow Taoist Wei, let's go to the alchemy room now. Okay. Wei Hong immediately followed Guan Yu and walked towards the Earth Fire Hall. Passing through the archway with the 3 big characters of Earth Fire Hall written on it, they came to a spacious passage. This passage actually didn't look like a passage at all, but rather like a wide hall. On both sides of the passage, there were tall stone doors with closed doors. Moreover, there were formations at the entrances of these stone doors. Next to the stone doors, there were 2 protruding stone balls of different colors and a button similar to a doorbell. Guan Yu led Wei Hong towards the Ding No. 1 alchemy room with great familiarity, and explained to Wei Hong as they walked, Friend Wei, this Ding No. 1 alchemy room is generally used for the identification of alchemy grades, and no one usually enters it to make alchemy. In addition, this is your first time at the Dangwon Pavilion, and you may not know that there are as many as thousands of alchemy rooms in the Earth Fire Hall, which are divided into levels of A, B, C, and D. Every alchemist can only enter the alchemy room of the corresponding level and must never cross the line. Please look, Friend Wei, there are 2 raised stone balls on the right side of the alchemy room. As long as someone enters one, the blue stone ball will always be on, and the green stone ball will light up when no one is using it. As for the button next to it, it is used to notify the alchemist inside. After all, after the alchemy room is in use, outsiders cannot enter it without permission, so as not to disturb others making alchemy. As they spoke, the 2 of them had arrived at the door of the No. 1 alchemy room. At this time, the servant who was ordered to collect the materials had also arrived. He hurriedly presented a storage bag and a token with both hands, and said respectfully, Master Steward, the 3 materials needed to refine the Kingsu pill are all inside. Very good, go down. Guan Yu waved his hand, took the storage bag and the token, and used the token to brush the restriction in front of the door. Buzz! An invisible wave flashed, and the layer of formation restriction revealed a passage as tall as a person. Guan Yu passed through the formation restriction and directly pushed open the stone door and walked in. Wei Hong naturally followed closely and immediately entered the alchemy room. After entering the alchemy room, he felt that the temperature around him suddenly rose a lot. Although the earth fire mouth was sealed, the alchemy room was used to refine pills all year round, so the temperature was naturally much higher than outside. Wei Hong glanced casually and found that this alchemy room was not much different from the one he usually used, except that the area was a little larger, and the earth fire mouth was arranged in the direction of the 3 talents formation, with 3 dragon heads standing around the earth fire mouth. Guan Yu then walked to the side of the underground fire mouth, put the storage bag in his hand on the wooden table next to him, turned around and said to Wei Hong, Friend Wei, the materials are all here, you can get ready and start. This time, Guan will observe the whole process, but will definitely not disturb you, just let go and do it. Okay. Wei Hong just nodded lightly. He walked to the side of the underground fire mouth, stretched out his hand to touch the storage bag, and an alchemy furnace was taken out and thrown out. Then it became 3 feet in size and landed directly on the underground fire mouth. This one is the Dragon Tiger Bagua furnace he has been using. After seeing the appearance of this alchemy furnace, Guan Yu's eyes lit up. He slowly stepped back a distance of 10 feet without making any sound. After offering the alchemy furnace, Wei Hong waved his hand, and a spiritual power hit the control switch next to it, and the 3 dragon heads immediately sprayed out a stream of orange-red flames. Whoosh! The flames sprayed out, and the temperature in the alchemy room immediately rose. 3 flames sprayed at the bottom of the Dragon Tiger Bagua furnace, and soon raised the temperature inside the furnace. Wei Hong stretched out his hand and took out a batch of alchemy materials from the storage bag on the wooden table. After a brief identification, he threw one of the vermilion fruits directly into the furnace. After the vermilion fruit was thrown into the furnace, Wei Hong sent out a spiritual power, while controlling the temperature, while pinching his hands and began to slowly roast the fruit. Under the high temperature, the surface of the fruit soon oozed out dense red liquid beads, and the fruit was slowly becoming shriveled. As the red liquid became more and more, the vermilion fruit was finally burned into powder and fell to the bottom of the furnace. A small ball of red liquid was left suspended in the furnace, emitting a faint fragrance. Wei Hong stretched out his hand and took the ball of red liquid directly out. He flipped his palm and a blank jade bottle appeared in his hand. Then he stretched out his hand and directly put the red liquid into the jade bottle and plugged it with a stopper. After placing the jade bottle on the wooden table, he picked up another light blue spiritual flower and threw it into the alchemy furnace. Dragon bone grass. Tianjin flower. Zian fruit. One by one, the materials were thrown into the alchemy furnace, and then they were continuously refined into essences and taken out by Wei Hong and temporarily placed aside. Wei Hong's expression was indifferent at this time, and his movements were skillful and leisurely. He looked orderly, but full of unique charm. Guan Yu behind him witnessed Wei Hong's techniques and movements of refining materials throughout the whole process, and couldn't help but widen his eyes at this time. Refining, fusion, condensing pills, and forming pills. Step by step, one by one, Wei Hong seemed extremely skilled and straightforward, without any unnecessary movements, and his techniques were also extremely refined. People could tell at a glance that this person was definitely proficient in the art of alchemy. More than an hour later, a very strong medicinal fragrance began to diffuse from the alchemy furnace. Guan Yu twitched his nose slightly, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 746 Fortunately, I have accomplished my mission, kindness. Buzz. A buzzing sound suddenly sounded in the alchemy furnace. Wei Hong's face straightened, and he immediately sent out a spiritual power. Bang! The lid on the top of the alchemy furnace was directly opened, and the next moment, a string of fist-sized green light balls flew out of the furnace. But before those green light balls wanted to scatter, Wei Hong used his spiritual power to transform into a giant hand and scoop them up. Swish! The string of green light balls was directly caught in the palm of the giant hand, and then he stretched out his hand and pointed, and the giant hand transformed by the spiritual power put all the green light balls into a wide jade bottle. After the bottle stopper was put in, the medicinal fragrance immediately became much lighter. Huh? Wei Hong exhaled lightly at this time, holding the jade bottle and turning to look at Guan Yu, smiling and said, Haha, fellow Taoist Guan, fortunately, I have fulfilled my mission. This Kinksu pill has been refined. In order to show his alchemy skills, he showed a lot of ability this time, and succeeded in one go, refining 7 Kinksu pills. Pa pa pa. Guan Yu applauded and said in a tone of amazement, Amazing, really amazing, fellow Taoist Wei, your alchemy skills are much better than many second-level middle-grade alchemists I have seen, and you have not yet broken through to the middle stage of foundation building, but you are so skilled in refining second-level middle-grade pills, and your success rate is also very high. Haha, Guan, I really admire you. Being able to be the deacon of the Danwang Pavilion, Guan Yu is naturally an alchemist. However, he is only a second-level lower-grade alchemist. After watching Wei Hong's alchemy skills and his concise and straightforward techniques, he felt that he was inferior to Wei Hong in his heart, and his respect for Wei Hong has been raised to more than one level. Wei Hong smiled modestly and said, Fellow Taoist Guan, you are too kind. I was just lucky to succeed this time. I have already prepared for the possibility of failure 3 times. Guan Yu automatically ignored his words and said to him directly, Fellow Taoist Wei, now that the grade of alchemy has been determined, I will update your identity information immediately. By the way, for talents like you, our Danwang Pavilion has always been preferential to you. Now that you are a second-level middle-grade alchemist, you can enjoy the treatment of a second-level middle-grade alchemist. Other fellow Taoists will gradually understand it. As for this residence, Guan can arrange it for you now. The second-level middle-grade Kinksu pill was successfully refined in one go. What else could such an alchemist be but a second-level middle-grade one? Guan Yu was not a rigid person, and he could see that Wei Hong's alchemy skills were much better than his, so he would never do anything that would offend others. Instead, he wanted to take the initiative to make friends with Wei Hong and try to give Wei Hong the greatest convenience. Guan Yu also knew that with the skills Wei Hong had shown, it was not a problem for him to gain a foothold in the Danwang Pavilion, which was full of talents. This was much better than many alchemists. Upon hearing this, Wei Hong immediately clasped his fists and said, Thank you, Taoist Guan. Then I'll have to trouble Taoist Guan to choose a place for me to live. Haha, that's no problem, Taoist, please follow me. Guan Yu laughed and pulled Wei Hong out of the alchemy room. After leaving the Earthfire Hall, under the leadership of Guan Yu, the two of them went straight to the residence hall, which was where all the alchemists gathered. After arriving at the residence hall, Wei Hong found that the residences here were basically independent courtyards, but some courtyards were very small, while others were very large. There seemed to be a huge difference between the independent courtyards. Guan Yu seemed to have made up his mind. He walked with Wei Hong for a while and came to a small independent courtyard of medium size. Then he pointed at the courtyard and said to Wei Hong, "Dao Wei, how is it? Are you satisfied with this residence? You can go in and take a look first. If you are not satisfied, Guan can change another one for you." Wei Hong did not answer immediately, but turned his head to look at the independent courtyard. From the outside, this independent courtyard seemed to be 6 or 7 feet wide. There was a plaque hanging above the door, and the 3 big characters, Bing 18, were written on the plaque. There was a formation restriction outside the courtyard. It was impossible to enter without the corresponding token. Now the gate of the courtyard was closed, but he could not see anything. But Wei Hong did not say anything, and nodded and smiled. Since Dao Yaowan helped Wei choose it, it will not be wrong. Let's go here. Guan Yu had chosen it for him, so he naturally had to accept it. When Guan Yu heard this, a smile emerged on his face. Haha, in that case, then fellow Taoist Wei can live here from now on. I will register you when I go back. By the way, when you enter for the first time, just use your identity token to open the formation. From now on, this formation will only recognize your identity token. Also, our pavilion is equipped with a lot of slaves and servants. If you have any needs, you can tell them. The daily chores can be done by those servants. Don't be polite to them. Guan Yu reminded Wei Hong of several things in succession, which could be regarded as the goodwill he showed after learning about his alchemy skills. Wei Hong listened carefully and took it to heart. Then he clasped his fists to Guan Yu and said, "Thank you for your advice, I will keep it in mind." Haha, you are welcome, fellow Taoist Wei. Guan Yu waved his hand nonchalantly, then said goodbye. I will take you here, you can go in by yourself. I have to go back to deal with business, I won't stay any longer, goodbye. Take care, fellow Taoist Guan, and come to sit with me more often in the future. Wei Hong clasped his fists to see him off and made an invitation. Guan Yu smiled and accepted, then turned around and left. After Wei Hong watched him leave, he took out his identity token to open the formation, then pushed open the gate of the courtyard and walked straight in. After entering the courtyard, he found that this residence was indeed not bad. It was not only spacious, but also fully equipped. There was a well, a flower bed, a stone table, etc. in the yard, and everything looked spotless. Obviously someone cleaned it from time to time. He took a casual look and walked into the residence. Inside was a reception hall, with 2 purple wooden chairs placed on the top and 4 brown wooden chairs placed on each side. There was a tea table next to each wooden chair. At the back of the hall was the master bedroom, kitchen, and practice room, which were fully equipped. After a casual look, Wei Hong said to himself, haha, it looks pretty good, and there are servants and chores. It seems that I really came to the right place in Dangwon Pavilion. At least for now, I am satisfied. This was the real reason why he showed a lot of skills when he first arrived. If he was not taken seriously or could not gain a foothold, he would probably be assigned to the smallest yard, and that kind of living environment was not what Wei Hong wanted. Now everything is developing in the direction he wants, which makes him very satisfied. Settle down first, and learn about the rest later. Chapter 747 Mandatory Mission. 7 days later. Wei Hong sat cross-legged on the wooden bed in the master bedroom and opened his eyes just at dawn. A gleam of light flashed in his eyes, and then disappeared again in an instant. However, Wei Hong did not get out of bed immediately, but kept a meditation posture and began to ponder. After these few days of understanding, I finally got a lot of basic information about this Dangwon Pavilion. But I didn't expect that this Dangwon Pavilion is much more worth joining than I thought. The life here is much better than that of the spiritual plant garden. It is worthy of being a direct force under the command of the immortal city. Wei Hong made a basic understanding of the basic situation of the Dangwon Pavilion in these 7 days, and finally got rid of the situation of being in the dark when he first arrived. According to what he learned, the Dangwon Pavilion is far superior to the spiritual plant garden in terms of environment and living standards. Except for the poor privacy and greatly reduced available space, the other aspects are not comparable to the spiritual plant garden. Of course, there are also mandatory tasks here. That is, you must complete a basic alchemy task every month and hand in a specified number of pills. The alchemy materials required for the task are provided by the Dangwon Pavilion, but they cannot exceed the limit. In simple terms, the success rate of each alchemist must reach more than 30% to complete the monthly task. If the required number of pills is still not completed after the prescribed share of alchemy materials is used up, then the merit points will be deducted. However, as far as Wei Hong knows, the deacons or alchemists who have the confidence to enter the Danwon Pavilion will basically not fail to complete the task. In addition to this basic task, the remaining mandatory task is the lecture that Zhao Mingquan told him before. The so-called lecture means that the Danwon Pavilion, according to the schedule of each alchemist, asks those alchemists to take time out every month to give lectures and training to some alchemy apprentices. In class, they can talk about some unique alchemy techniques, or teach some alchemy knowledge. In short, lectures must be given, but the alchemists can decide what to talk about. This is the responsibility and obligation that the Danwon Pavilion requires every deacon or alchemist to pay. For Wei Hong, these two mandatory tasks were not difficult at all. He only needed to show some alchemy skills to deal with them easily. Of course, in addition to responsibilities and obligations, the rest were naturally the benefits and treatment that alchemists should have. First of all, in terms of life, Danwon Pavilion had a large number of slaves and chores. Each alchemist was equipped with 3 to 5 people. Each alchemist could order these slaves to do anything, and there was no need to worry about the chores in life. Someone would help them handle it properly. This was a treatment that Wei Hong had never experienced before, but he was very satisfied. Secondly, in terms of alchemy, in addition to completing the 2 tasks, the remaining time could be freely allocated by the alchemist, which could be used for cultivation or alchemy at will. Moreover, the elixir refined by the alchemist after completing the basic tasks would be purchased by Danwon Pavilion at a price higher than the market price. In addition, each alchemist could purchase various alchemy materials from the warehouse of Danwon Pavilion, and there would be a relatively favorable discount for purchasing these alchemy materials, which was definitely more cost-effective than purchasing materials from the outside. With a flow of people, it can be said that every alchemist in Danwon Pavilion can earn a lot of spiritual stones. Wei Hong only needs to do a simple calculation to know that this is definitely much more than what he can earn in the spiritual plant garden. This kind of life is much better than in the spiritual plant garden, and Wei Hong quickly adapted to it. Coming to such a new environment, he naturally has to integrate into it quickly. Now that I have settled down, I should start to make pills well. I can't waste these resources on such a large platform. I heard that there are many unique pill recipes and pills in Danwon Pavilion, as well as some rare spells, etc. These can be exchanged for merit points. Then I have to work hard to accumulate merit points. Wei Hong thought secretly in his heart, and he had a clear arrangement for the affairs in Danwon Pavilion in the next few years. After he got up from the bed, he washed up with the help of a servant, ate a breakfast, and then walked slowly towards the Earth Fire Hall. After arriving at the Earth Fire Hall, Wei Hong glanced around casually and found that the 2 levels of alchemy rooms, Bing and Ding, were the most used. This also meant that the second-level middle and lower-grade alchemists in the Danwon Pavilion were the majority, and the second-level upper-grade alchemists were still a minority. He randomly found an unused C-level alchemy room, opened the formation with his identity token, and pushed the door open and walked in. When he walked into the alchemy room, the blue stone bowl next to the door of the alchemy room lit up directly. Wei Hong walked behind the wooden table next to the earth fire mouth, took out a storage bag and took out some materials and put them on the wooden table. The storage bag was filled with alchemy materials he had taken out from the warehouse, and he took them according to the alchemy recipes he was good at. There were dozens of materials for refining Kinksudan and Hunryondan. After sending out a spiritual power, the 3 dragon heads arranged according to the 3 talents immediately sprayed out a stream of orange-red flames. Wei Hong waved his hand, and the dragon tiger bagua furnace immediately fell on the earth fire mouth. 3 flames blazed at the bottom of the alchemy furnace at the same time, and the furnace was quickly heated. After heating the furnace, Wei Hong took a spiritual flower and threw it into the alchemy furnace. At this moment, there was no one else in the alchemy room except himself, so he naturally didn't need to hide anything. He pinched his hands and threw 2 spiritual flowers into the alchemy furnace in succession. After the 2 spiritual flowers entered the furnace, he controlled them on the left and right, and then roasted them at different temperatures. He had never shown this ability of doing 2 things at once in front of others. If other alchemists saw it, they might be stunned, because such a method was not something that ordinary people could do. Perhaps it would not be shocking if it was put on the alchemy master. This was also the ability and method that Wei Hong had after he had improved the Kingsa pill and other pill recipes to the extreme realm. Ordinary people couldn't learn it at all. Refining 2 kinds of spiritual flowers at the same time increased his refining speed by several times. In a short while, more than 10 kinds of alchemy materials had completed the refining process. The refined material essences were put into the alchemy furnace one by one, and then Wei Hong immediately pinched his hands to control the temperature, while controlling the essences of the materials in the alchemy furnace to slowly merge. In this way, Wei Hong began to concentrate on alchemy in the alchemy room, and his success rate was extremely high. Soon, he refined several furnaces of elixirs in succession. Chapter 748 Fifth Level of Foundation Building. 3 years later. After entering Danyuan Pavilion, Wei Hong's life became peaceful again. There was no threat from foreign enemies, and no one affected his life. He had been staying in Danyuan Pavilion, and he could not feel the undercurrent of the outside world. For Wei Hong, this was exactly the peaceful life he wanted. During these 3 years, in addition to refining pills and practicing every day, Wei Hong spent the rest of his time making friends and studying pills. After he gained a foothold in Danyuan Pavilion, he began to make friends with some alchemists and deacons around him, such as Zhao Mingquan and Guan Yu, who he met on the day of reporting. They were also his friends. Whenever he had free time, he would go to Zhao Mingquan to chat, or discuss the skills of alchemy with Guan Yu, or occasionally invite some neighbors around to come to a party, and many people would exchange ideas on alchemy. In this way, Wei Hong's network of contacts in Danyuan Pavilion began to slowly become deeper. His alchemy skills are also top-notch among the second-level middle and lower-grade alchemists. Therefore, after showing off his alchemy skills, Wei Hong quickly gained the recognition and respect of other alchemists, and his status among the alchemists he made friends with is definitely ranked high. In addition, he also gained a lot of inspiration and gains from the exchanges with many alchemists, which also helped his alchemy skills. This also made Wei Hong secretly sigh that it is definitely not wrong to exchange experiences with people. In addition to making friends, Wei Hong also exchanged several very useful recipes from the Danyuan Pavilion, including both second-level high-grade recipes that can be used to improve cultivation and special recipes that can keep oneself clear-minded. These recipes are not expensive in the Danyuan Pavilion, and he only spent some merit points to exchange them. After exchanging them, Wei Hong quickly included those recipes in the system and raised them all to the small success realm. In this way, his daily life is extremely fulfilling. This is much more comfortable than being in the spiritual plant garden, which makes Wei Hong feel that his choice to join the Danyuan Pavilion is very wise. Of course, 3 years is not long or short, but for him, the biggest gain is not how many friends he has made, or how much improvement he has made in alchemy, but that his cultivation has finally broken through to the 5th level of foundation building. It's worth it that I swallowed so many pills, and finally broke through. When Wei Hong thought of his cultivation after the breakthrough, he couldn't help but feel happy. It took him 7 or 8 years and swallowed countless pills to successfully break through. After breaking through to the 5th level of foundation building, Wei Hong immediately restrained his own cultivation and aura by half, only showing his 4th level of foundation building, and announced to the outside world that he was lucky enough to break through to the middle stage of foundation building. When this news was learned by Zhao Mingquan and others, it caused a shock and discussion among the crowd. None of them had expected that Wei Hong would break through to the middle stage of foundation building after only 3 years in Danyuan Pavilion. This was really surprising. Zhao Mingquan and others were also quite envious of this. In addition to being surprised, they also congratulated Wei Hong and made him spend a lot of spiritual stones. Moreover, when Wei Hong spread the news that he had broken through to the middle stage of foundation building, his status in Danyuan Pavilion also improved a lot. Although he could not compare with those second-level top-grade alchemists, he was also in the middle among many alchemists. No one dared to look down on him. Therefore, more and more alchemy apprentices wanted to listen to his lectures. As for the lectures, although Wei Hong could not reveal all his skills, he did not perfunctorily explain some alchemy knowledge that was not too important but could help and improve the alchemy apprentices. In this way, those alchemy apprentices who were promoted naturally respected him. However, after 3 years, even though Wei Hong did not leave Kangshan Immortal City and rarely left Danyuan Pavilion, he could still feel the undercurrents. At this time, the situation around Kangshan Immortal City had become obviously turbulent and became more and more tense. He learned from some alchemists that in the past 1 or 2 years, many evil cultivators began to appear outside the city, and many Taoist friends were ambushed and killed by evil cultivators outside the city, resulting in many casualties. The most important thing is that in recent times, even in Kangshan Immortal City, there seem to be cases of evil killings. The figures of the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect also began to emerge slowly and were gradually known by the majority of cultivators. As a result, people in Kangshan Immortal City were immediately panicked. Damn evil cultivators, they have to make trouble at this time, it's really unbearable. Wei Hong walked forward and couldn't help but secretly complain in his heart. Since he stayed in Kangshan Immortal City, he would inevitably be affected. Moreover, there have been many cases of evil cultivators killing people in the city, which also made him feel a little uneasy. Even though Wei Hong has now broken through to the 5th level of foundation building, he still feels that it is not enough to face the cruel and vicious evil cultivators. At this moment, he is extremely eager to strengthen his own strength. Therefore, he decided to go to the library inside the Danwon Pavilion, which is the direction he is heading to now. The reason why he decided to go to the library is that the library contains a large number of rare spells, skills and secrets, as well as a large number of ancient books and some strange magical powers. It is said that these things were put in by Kangshan's Henrin himself. You can imagine how precious they are. Each of them requires a large number of merit points to exchange. Wei Hong's current cultivation has just broken through not long ago, and it is impossible to improve much in a short period of time. If he wants to strengthen his own strength or get some useful spells, the library has become his most suitable choice. In the past 3 years, he has accumulated a lot of merit points by completing tasks and refining a lot of pills. In addition to exchanging a few pill recipes, he has never used these merit points. Now it can come in handy. Soon, Wei Hong came to the outside of the library. It is called a library, but it is actually a stone hall. However, the library is located in the deepest part of Danwon Pavilion, and he has only been here 2 or 3 times. The main door of the library is an extremely heavy stone door, on which there are a lot of mysterious and complex runes. Just a glance at it makes Wei Hong feel frightened. Obviously, those runes are definitely not decorations, but weapons full of terrifying power. And the entire stone hall of the library is shrouded by a terrifying formation. With Wei Hong's current attainments and formations, he can't see through it at all. Tisk, I'm afraid that even a late giant and strong man can't break through this library. Wei Hong sighed in his heart, and then slowly walked into the door. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 749, Divine Power, Spiritual Mirror. In front of the library. As Wei Hong approached openly, he immediately sensed several powerful divine senses sweeping over him. After checking the identity token tied around his waist, those powerful divine senses then hide again. Obviously, as the important place for Danwon Pavilion to store books, the defense power of this library must not be underestimated. It can even be called airtight. Just looking at those powerful divine senses, you can tell that there are still many powerful guards hidden near this library. When those divine senses swept over him, Wei Hong also felt a palpitation. He knew very well that if he did anything out of line, he would be wiped out from this world in the next breath, and there was no way he could escape. Fortunately, he was not panicked, and he had long known that this was a necessary process to enter the library, so his face remained calm. When he walked in front of the protective formation, the identity token on his waist immediately flashed a light, and the formation in front also opened a door, and Wei Hong stepped over lightly. Behind the formation, the heavy door of the library was always open. As long as you can enter the formation, you can enter the library without any obstacles. Moreover, there was no guard in front of the door. Danwon Pavilion seemed to be very confident in the defense force they had deployed. After entering the hall on the first floor, there was a white jade table about 10 feet long on the right. Behind the jade table was a reclining chair. An old man was lying on the reclining chair with his eyes closed, and he ignored Wei Hong's appearance. Wei Hong already knew the temper of this old man, so he didn't bother him. Instead, he walked slowly into the hall with his hands and feet lightly, ready to find something he could exchange. Inside the hall, There were rows of black wooden shelves, each of which was 5 feet apart. On the wooden shelves were either various ancient books or jade slips, which recorded some rare skills, spells, secret skills, and so on. Wei Hong was not here for the first time, so he naturally knew the rules here. These jade slips or ancient books on the wooden shelf are actually under special restrictions. Anyone who comes in can view them at will, but can only view a small part of the content. Unless you select one of the jade slips and have enough merit points to exchange it, you can go to the old man behind the door. The old man will help to lift the ban and use a blank jade slip to reprint a copy of the selected spell or technique. As for the merit points and name required for each spell or technique, they will be clearly marked next to the jade slip. Of course, there will be a sign on the side of each wooden shelf, which will clearly state what type of items are placed on this wooden shelf. Basically, the items on each wooden shelf are of the same category, such as spells belong to spells and techniques belong to techniques. Wei Hong walked to a wooden shelf on the left side where spells were placed, picked up a jade slip that recorded Spirit Sealing Method, and began to check it. There are 3 main reasons why he did not check the jade slips such as techniques. First, he was quite satisfied with his current major, the green light sword art, and had no intention of changing his technique. Moreover, practicing one more technique would distract his attention, and he had no such idea for the time being. Second, he was now eager to enhance his own strength, or to find something that would be of great help to his current situation, so the technique was not suitable, but the spell would have a more immediate effect. The third reason was also the most important, that was that the technique required too many merit points, and he could not afford it at all, so he could only choose some that were suitable for him to exchange. In this way, finding some spells or secret skills that did not require high merit points became the best choice. Putting his consciousness into the jade slip, Wei Hong carefully examined it. After a moment, he gently opened his eyes. This Fengling Defa seems to be exquisite, but it is actually useless and has no use to me. After saying that, he put the jade slip back to its original position. It was because the sealing spirit technique recorded in the jade slip could seal the enemy's spiritual power. This effect seemed very powerful, but there were considerable limitations in its use. For example, the caster's cultivation level had to be much higher than the enemy's to truly cast the spell successfully, or the enemy had to be restrained, and the enemy's spiritual power could only be sealed when the enemy could not resist. In this way, Wei Hong would naturally not take it seriously. Then he picked up another jade slip and checked it. After finding that it did not have much effect on him, he immediately put it down. Repeating this process, Wei Hong quickly checked the jade slips on the entire wooden shelf. However, he did not find a spell that suited him, which made him frown slightly. However, Wei Hong did not care, because there were many spells here. If the one on this wooden shelf was not suitable, he could look at other ones. So he kept checking the wooden shelves one by one. After more than an hour, he let out a sigh of relief, holding a jade slip in his hand without putting it down. The jade slip he was holding now recorded a magical power called Spiritual Light Treasure Mirror. Although it is called a magical power, it is not as good as the real magical power. It should be said to be a weakened version of the magical power, or it is more appropriate to say that it is a secret technique. The function of this magical power, Spiritual Light Treasure Mirror, is actually very simple. It is an magical power that can see through illusions and illusions, or see through the inner nature of some things. Therefore, this magical power is helpful whether it is used for array formation or alchemy, and it can play a significant role even in fighting. The most important point is that the reason why Wei Hong is interested in this magical power is actually related to the recent turmoil. He thought that if he practiced this Spiritual Light Treasure Mirror, he could prevent those hidden evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect. Since it is an magical power, it should be able to see through the disguise or true body of the evil cultivators of the Blood Spirit sect. If it really has such a miraculous effect, it will be of great use to me. Wei Hong held the jade slip, but he kept thinking in his heart. He had been looking for so long, and at present, only this magical power of Spiritual Light Treasure Mirror was more suitable, and his merit points were just enough to exchange for this magical power. Other spells were either not very effective or required too many merit points. So Wei Hong thought about it and soon made a decision. Forget it, let's go with this one. After making the decision, he immediately took the jade slip and walked towards the old man on the recliner. Hello, Senior. I have already chosen a magical power. I hope you can help me." After coming to the old man, Wei Hong immediately bowed and whispered his purpose. "Oh." The old man slowly opened his eyes after hearing this, and then slowly said, "Bring it here to have a look." Wei Hong hurriedly stepped forward and gently placed the jade slip in his hand on the jade table. The old man stood up tremblingly, picked up the jade slip, and just glanced at it and said, "Spiritual light treasure mirror? Boy, are you sure you want to exchange for this magical power?" Chapter 750 Preaching and Learning. "Yes, I'm sure." Wei Hong didn't dare to neglect it and hurriedly answered with his hands clasped. He didn't know how the old man saw the contents of the jade slip, and he didn't sense the appearance of the divine consciousness, so Wei Hong couldn't help but feel extremely shocked in his heart, and his face became more respectful. The old man didn't care at all. Seeing Wei Hong's affirmative answer, he slowly said, "In this case, a total of 11,000 merit points. Bring your identity token over." "Yes, thank you, Senior." Wei Hong hurriedly presented his identity token with both hands. After the old man took the token, he just stretched out his hand and touched it lightly. A barely detectable light flashed, and before Wei Hong noticed anything, the old man handed the token back again. Wei Hong immediately took the token, and then the old man took out a blank jade slip, copied a copy of the Linguang Baojin on the blank jade slip, and threw the jade slip directly to Wei Hong. "Okay, take it." The old man waved his hand at Wei Hong and immediately lay back down. Wei Hong bowed again, took the jade slip and immediately left the library. After returning to his own independent courtyard, Wei Hong immediately took out the jade slip that recorded the magical power of Linguang Baojin from his storage bag. He placed the jade slip between his eyebrows, and his spiritual consciousness immediately immersed in it. This time, he finally saw the entire Linguang Baojin. His spiritual consciousness was immersed in it for more than half an hour before he slowly opened his eyes. Ling. The second level upper grade magical power Linguang Baojin was successfully included, and the current proficiency is entry level, 1-800. The system sent a prompt at the right time. Wei Hong frowned slightly. He didn't expect that the vitality points required to improve the magical power of Linguang Baojin were actually higher than other spells. It seems that this magical power seems to be a little unusual. Wei Hong thought about it for a while and understood it. The system will not lie. The vitality points required for the starting realm of this Linguang Baojin are higher than other second-level spells. This proves that the value of this magical power must be high. Thinking of this, Wei Hong couldn't help but be full of expectations. So he immediately began to add vitality points, preparing to upgrade the realm of Linguang Baojin. Ling. Second level upper grade magical power Linguang Baojin vitality points plus 800, current proficiency is mastery, 1/1200, Ling. Second level upper grade magical power Linguang Baojin vitality points plus 1200, current proficiency is minor success, 1/1600, Ling. Second level upper grade magical power Linguang Baojin vitality points plus 1600, current proficiency is great success, 1/2000. After spending about 10,000 vitality points, Wei Hong directly upgraded Linguang Baojin to the ultimate realm. The next moment, a lot of experience about practicing Linguang Baojin began to flood into his mind. He immediately began to absorb with all his strength, and after more than half an hour, he digested all the experience and knowledge. Huh? Wei Hong exhaled lightly, and a gleam of light seemed to flash in his eyes. He murmured, "So this is the magical power? It seems to be more magical than ordinary spells. I don't know what the specific effect is." After cultivating this spiritual light treasure mirror, although he has not yet tested the specific effect, he can feel some of the strangeness of this magical power, and even see ordinary things seem to be much clearer. Moreover, after this magical power was maxed out to the limit by him, there is no need to deliberately cast spells. His eyes already have part of the power of this magical power. If he slightly stimulates the spiritual power, the power of these eyes will immediately increase greatly. I have to find an opportunity to try the effect. Hey, I got it. Wei Hong thought secretly in his heart, and suddenly his eyes lit up. Because tomorrow is the day he will give a lecture, he thought he could take this opportunity to take a good look at whether there are any evil cultivators from the Blood Spirit sect hiding in the class. After making up his mind, he entered the state of meditation again. The next day, Wei Hong did not walk to the Earth Fire Hall as usual, but slowly walked to the lecture hall. All the alchemists gave lectures in the lecture hall, where there was a lecture hall specially opened by the Dan Wang Pavilion, which was large enough to accommodate thousands of people at a time, but there were usually only 200 or 300 alchemy apprentices who came to listen to the lectures. When Wei Hong arrived at the lecture hall, there were already many alchemy apprentices sitting densely. "Hello, Master Steward." Seeing Wei Hong appear, the alchemy apprentices immediately bowed and greeted him. These alchemy apprentices were all alchemy seedlings cultivated by the Dan Wang Pavilion since childhood, but because they were still young and their cultivation was only in the key training stage, they were still in the training stage, which was why the Dan Wang Pavilion required Wei Hong and others to give lectures every month. Wei Hong nodded slightly, then picked up the small hammer on the wooden table in front of him and knocked lightly on a bronze bell. Ling. A dull but not harsh sound immediately spread throughout the lecture hall. Wei Hong's voice also rang out, "Fellow Taoists, I am Wei Hong, and I will be in charge of the lecture today. Today we will talk about the various methods of refining materials and temperature control. As for how to refine materials, this should be the basic skills that all Taoists have learned, but what I want to say is that different alchemy inheritances or different alchemy schools will have different refining methods, and many of them are not disclosed to the public. If you don't communicate with others, you won't know them at all. Now I will talk about 3 different refining methods. You can raise any questions you have." Wei Hong talked freely, but he only talked about some things that were not too important. Even so, this was rare knowledge for those alchemy apprentices, so the more than 200 alchemy apprentices listened attentively, not daring to be negligent in the slightest. After all, these are the experiences and insights of every alchemist. Wei Hong explained in detail and gave a few examples, which made the atmosphere of the on-site teaching better and better, and all the alchemy apprentices in the key training period were immersed in the process of absorbing knowledge. At this moment, Wei Hong suddenly had an idea, and a trace of spiritual power quietly poured into his eyes, and then he used his eyes to slowly scan from left to right. The next moment, the scene he saw through the Lingguang treasure mirror suddenly made his heart tighten. It was because he clearly saw that on the bodies of several alchemy apprentices, there was a faint bloodlight emerging. This bloodlight was hidden in the bodies of those alchemy apprentices, and it was impossible to detect it with normal eyes, but under the sweep of the Lingguang treasure mirror, it was completely exposed and presented directly and clearly to Wei Hong's eyes. Seeing this scene, Wei Hong was almost shocked and even stopped teaching. Fortunately, he had been mentally prepared in advance, so he did not show any abnormality. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.